The story begins with a girl running through the streets at night and shouting for help as two men chase her. As the men close in, a boy suddenly appears behind them and calmly tells the men to run if they don't want to die. When he notices they aren't backing off, he removes a patch from his neck, which reveals a hole. Right at that moment, that girl behind them transforms into a massive blank ant. The men get shocked to see that, and the ant kills them on the spot. The next day, a group from Bug Reaper arrives at the scene. They start to inspect the area, which is in ruins after the ant's attack. While searching, one of the workers informs their boss that they found a severed lower body and a right arm. The worker also mentions that, according to a survivor, a boy was seen near the area during the incident. Meanwhile at school, a girl named Choa is reading a book about the Bug Reaper group. The book explains that in 2005, monsters wearing insect masks appeared in the world. They caused destruction, from physical violence to even eating people. But the most terrifying part is that these creatures live among humans, known as insectors. As she finishes reading, the teacher mentions the events from yesterday in Namandan, saying the police believe the case is linked to an insector. Hearing this, a masked girl named Seijin turns to Choa and asks if she's from that town, and they decide to go home together. While the rest of the class talks about it, a boy named Kamasan, also wearing a patch on his neck, is calmly eating snacks. The teacher then asks everyone about their assignments and orders Choa, the class president, to collect and bring them to him. After the teacher leaves, two boys approach Choa and tell her not to submit any assignments, as no one has finished theirs. However, to their surprise, Kamasan hands in his assignment to her, and when he returns to his seat, the boys approach him and ask why he submitted the assignment when they clearly didn't want to. One boy then notices the patch on Kamasan's neck and jokingly asks if it's a hickey. As he peels it off, he's shocked to find a hole in his neck, and a small ant crawls out. He tells the others, but they brush it off. Saijin then asks Choa if she likes Kamasan, which makes her blush. She heads to the teacher's office to submit both Kamasan's assignment and her own. The teacher tells her that she and Kamasan are free to go, but the rest of the class will have to stay after school to clean up as punishment. After leaving the office, she feels anxious about how she'll get home, since Seijin is also staying for punishment. Just then, she remembers that Kamasan lives in the same town as her. She hesitantly mentions the punishment to him and asks if she can go home with him, but he simply refuses and walks away. After school, the rest of the class is cleaning up the trash, but Kamasan is nowhere to be seen. While they work, Seijin notices Choa is also there, and she's crying. When she asks about the problem, Choa explains that Kamasan turned her down. Meanwhile, two boys move aside and one asks the other about what he saw earlier with Kamasan's neck hole. The boy confirms he really saw an ant crawl out of it. As they talk, the insector suddenly appears and kills one of the boys by cutting off his head. A girl nearby is horrified by the scene and immediately starts running away. As the insector appears in front of the other students, they panic and start running for their lives as well. In the chaos, Seijin faints. Choa tries to wake her up, but then she notices the insector is standing close by. Just as it moves in to kill her, it suddenly stops, and by calling her the class president, it confusingly asks why she is here. When Choa looks at its face, she realizes the insector is actually their teacher. The teacher angrily says that she should have listened to him. As he raises his weapon to kill her, an ant suddenly attacks and cuts off both of his hands. Choa is shocked by this, and when she looks around, she sees someone in black ant armor standing there, the person who just saved her life. At this moment, Choa faints as well, and the Ant-Man, who is actually Kamasan, catches her. The teacher monster comments that he knows Kamasan well and asks why he's killing his own kind. Kamasan responds by delivering a powerful punch to the monster's stomach and sends it back. After placing the two girls safely aside, he asks the monster why it's killing its own students. The monster angrily replies that it has trouble finding food and threatens to eat Kamasan as well. Transforming into a ball, the monster leaps at him and throws him to the ground. It jumps into the air and starts crashing into Kamasan repeatedly. As the area becomes wrecked by the monster's attacks, Kamasan remains calm. When the monster is about to slam into him again, Kamasan enlarges his hands and thrusts them into the monster's body. The monster gets shocked by this, and Kamasan delivers another powerful punch to its stomach, grabs its body tightly, and with all his strength, he turns it into multiple pieces. After finishing it off, Kamasan transforms back into his human form and simply walks away. Soon after, the Bug Reaper group arrives at the scene and begins collecting the dead bodies of the students. The boss stands with another powerful figure, who examines the area and reports that it looks like a battlefield, with insects fighting each other. A worker then informs the boss that the schoolgirl who encountered the beetle has regained consciousness. She says a man in black saved her. They also learn that another student is speaking to the media, claiming he saved his friends and even got pictures of the monsters. The boss, not wanting to interfere, walks over to Choa, who is reassuring her mother on the phone. Noticing the boss smoking, Choa puts on an oxygen mask, but he tells her that what he's smoking isn't a cigarette, it's insect repellent. He then asks her about the incident, and Choa explains that when the teacher was about to kill them all, a black human appeared and saved them. When the powerful guy asks why she is calling him a human, she replies that he just looked like one. The boss then asks her to tell him which student wasn't doing the cleaning punishment at that time. Later that night, Kamison arrives home, where his grandmother greets him and happily tells him she has prepared a lot of food for him. However, Kamison tells her he's not hungry. She becomes worried and asks if he's hurt anywhere, urging him to go to his room and relax. Once in his room, Kamison turns on the TV, where the news is covering the incident from earlier that day. The report states that at a high school in Kurugu, Seoul, a large number of students were killed by their own teacher, who was revealed to be an insector. As Kamison lies on his bed, a line of blank ants starts crawling in through the window and goes into the hole on his neck. The next day, at an abandoned building, the police force is on a mission to search for some missing children. As they enter the third floor, they are shocked to find the children trapped in cocoons. Outside the building, the Bug Reaper group waits in their car for the police's call. Tae asks if they can't just go in and rescue the children, but Sam replies that the police have priority in the investigation. Just then, the police call and urgently request their help. Upon hearing this, the leader, Pio, orders the boys to get in the building quickly. Inside the building, the police begin cutting the cocoons. The captain remarks that the enemy is an insector, so they need to act fast. One of the officers opens a cocoon and reassures the children that they've been saved. At this moment, the captain sees a quick attack that kills one of the soldiers instantly. As he looks around, he notices a mosquito insector has arrived and asks what they are doing with his children. When a second soldier opens fire on the insector, it leaps at him with incredible speed and kills him on the spot. The captain realizes it's faster than a bullet. As the insector moves to attack him, Sam shoots from another tower, but to his surprise, the bullet only hits the insector's nose. As the insector tries again to attack the captain, Tae steps in and strikes it with a stick. Pio orders the captain to get the children out of there, and just as the insector leaps toward him, Pio calmly flicks the smoke from his cigarette at it, which causes the insector to fall. But the insector doesn't give up. It breaks its nose tip and launches a series of mosquito attacks at them. Pio quickly throws more smoke at it and saves everyone, but the insector escapes through the window. Pio orders Sam to shoot it, but before he can act, he gets injured by the swarm of mosquito attacks. The next day, Choa sits in the playground with her younger brother and his friend, reading about the school incident. She feels bad for Sejin, who had brain surgery and is refusing visitors. As she reads, her younger brother, wearing a bee mask, tries to scare her. When she stops him, he runs off. Choa comments that she hates looking after him, especially since he's not going to school. When she looks up, she sees Kamison standing nearby, holding some ice creams. He hands one to her brother, and the three of them start eating together. Suddenly, Choa's brother kicks the soccer ball, and it falls out of the playground. He tells Choa about it and quickly goes with his friend to pick it up. Choa tries to stop him, but Kamison reassures her that he'll bring him back. He arrives at the spot and sees the second kid standing there holding the soccer ball, who asks him why he's there. As Choa's brother heads back to her, the kid remarks that Kamison looks like a fellow compatriot. This kid is actually the mosquito insector from the previous day. He tells him that he was about to eat the kid, but Kamison interrupted. He warns him not to intrude on his territory again, or he'll beat him up. To his surprise, Kamison peels off the patch from his neck and suddenly transforms into Ant-Man. The mosquito insector comments that Kamison has been spreading rumors about his competitors and says that now, he will be the one to die. Saying that, the mosquito insector transforms into his original form, and by moving around Kamison, he asks if he is really that slow that he can't even see him. Pleased with his own speed, the mosquito insector keeps circling, but Kamison easily catches him midair and defeats him in an instant. Afterward, he transforms back into his human form and returns to Choa and her brother. The little boy asks for more ice cream, and Kamison happily hands him all of them by saying that he's now full. The next day, the students return to school after a week off, only to be disappointed by the notice that Class 3 has been closed. They must now sit with students from other classes. Choa apologizes to her classmates because she is no longer the class president and moves to a different class. She glances sadly at her chat with Sejin and, looking around, mutters that even though she's in a new class, that annoying guy Nosu is still here. Meanwhile, as Nosu is causing a noise with some other boys, Yejin, the brave girl in this class, is annoyed by the noise, and by suddenly kicking him, she orders him to stay quiet. Afterward, she walks away, and Choa thinks that Yejin is much better at handling guys like him. As Yejin exits, Kamison enters the room. Seeing him, Choa calls out to him and excitedly tells him that the girl who just left is the real deal in this class. After the teacher assigns a test, Kamison still feels hungry, and Choa reassures him that they can have lunch together later. Just then, he hears a secretive voice and realizes that an insector is waiting for him. Once the test ends and the other students relax, Choa looks over at Kamison's seat, but he's gone. Kamison is actually heading toward the source of the voice. Meanwhile, Pio and Tae are on their way to the school, discussing the mosquito insector from the previous day. Suddenly, Kamison bumps into Pio but continues on his way. Both Pio and Tai reach the teacher's office, where Pio tells Choa that he's there to see the student she was supposed to introduce him to. Choa explains that the student went home because he was hungry. Tae then asks if the guy who bumped into Pio earlier was the student. Pio hands her his card, and by telling her to give it to the student, he heads to the hospital to meet Sam. Meanwhile, as Kamison reaches the spot and transforms into Ant-Man, he notices an insector standing there. He swiftly tries to attack, but the insector dodges and kicks him back. Kamison leaps forward again, landing a powerful punch to the insector's face. Confused by its movements, Kamison throws an ant attack and killing the insector on the spot. However, to his surprise, he notices threads attached to the insector. Upon inspection, he realizes it's Silk's trap. Suddenly, a bomb emerges from the insector's mouth, which explodes and sends Kamison back. At this moment, the real insector, Silk, arrives. She strictly asks Kamison if he has ever killed a fly before. Just then, another insector with a huge gun arrives and comments that the death of the fly has put them in a difficult situation, as the customers looking for young meat are now angry. He orders Silk to kill Kamison. She responds with a powerful kick to his head, but to her surprise, she realizes it's just Kamison's shell, not him. At this moment, Kamison leaps down from above with armored hands and attempts to punch Silk. The other insector opens fire, but Kamison skillfully dodges with his armored hands. As he prepares to land a punch, Silk grabs his arm with her threads from behind. Noticing the opportunity, she delivers a powerful kick and sends him to the ground. Kneeling down, Kamison faces the other insector, who points the gun at his head. Just before the shot can be fired, he orders his black ant shell to move. At this moment, Tae arrives and redirects the gun away from Kamison. Pio also shows up, and comments that these insectors are constantly crossing the line. As Pio prepares to end this, Silk suddenly launches a bomb attack at them, and both she and the insector quickly fly away. Tae tells Pio that now their priority is to capture the black ant, but when they look back, they're shocked to see he's gone as well. Tae worries that if their commander finds out they let him escape again, they'll be in serious trouble. Meanwhile, Kamison returns home and sits down to eat with his grandmother. He eats quickly because he is hungry, and after finishing his meal, he heads to his room. But his mind wanders back to the words of the insectors he killed, who mentioned that he had started killing his own kind. As he thinks about this, he removes his shirt, and that's when the black ants start biting his body from the inside, which causes him to scream out in pain. Meanwhile, in a secret location, Yejin is busy gathering human cocoons. She is actually the Silk who attacked Kamison earlier. After storing the cocoons in the locker room, she heads to her boss, another insector, who angrily complains that he needed to capture the black ant to gain the attention of the heavenly insects. But the bug reapers interfered. When Yejin removes her jacket, her boss is surprised by what he sees. He grabs her sleeve and tells her that her uniform is identical to Ant-Man's and demands to know if she knows him. She denies it, but he insists that Ant-Man is her classmate and orders her to kill him. Yejin clearly expresses that she doesn't want to do such dirty work, but the boss grabs her by the neck and reminds her that she once promised she would do anything, but now she is refusing. As he talks to her, suddenly his dog barks from outside. He looks over and sees a human boy trying to escape. Checking the camera, he asks Yejin if she forgot to lock the room. She reassures him that she didn't, and adds that she's quitting the job. At this moment, he throws a bomb at the escaping boy, which kills him instantly. Yejin is stunned by this, and he repeats that she has to kill the black ant. The next day at school, the students are having lunch. Nosu asks the chef for more sauce, but she refuses. He then notices Kamison eating a lot and feels confused. Choa also comments that Kamison is eating more than usual. As he continues to eat, the black ants attack his body again from the inside. Noticing his behavior, Choa asks about the problem, while Nosu looks at the large amount of food Kamison is eating and comments that some people seem to have unlimited refills for lunch. Choa tells him that Kamison is paying for 10 lunches, and Nosu teasingly adds that if someone eats this much, maybe they're an insector. Hearing this, Yejin glances at Kamison, and when Nosu continues to annoy him, he angrily grabs him by the mouth, and by throwing him aside, he rushes out of the room, thinking that his hunger isn't satisfied yet. The ants inside him are attacking, and he's starting to lose control. As he screams in pain, his upper body suddenly transforms into Ant-Man. At this moment, Yejin arrives and realizes that Kamison is an insector. She quickly transforms as well, and he leaps at her to attack, but she blocks his move with her threads. After that, he dreams of being caught by large black ants, begging them to leave him alone. As he suffers, a big red ant arrives and kills all the black ants. Suddenly, he wakes up in his bed. He steps out of his room, unable to recall what happened after he encountered her. He wonders if the silence of the ants means they finally killed her. His grandmother calls out to him, asking if he wants something to eat. Kamison declines, and she asks if he caught any bugs yesterday. He tells her he doesn't remember and inquires about how he made it home. She mentions that a tall girl with yellow hair carried him back, which surprises him. She adds that the girl arrived covered in blood and questions whether she's the same kind as him. Kamison denies it and realizes that Yejin must still be alive. At this moment, he hears the familiar secret voice of the other insector and begins moving toward it. Meanwhile, Yejin and her boss stand in an open area, with the boss commenting on the trouble Yejin has caused. He asks why she hasn't killed the black ant yet. As they talk, Kamison arrives there in his Ant-Man form. Both Yejin and her boss also shift into their insector forms. Yejin leaps at Kamison to attack, but he easily dodges her. Using his powerful hand, he delivers a crushing punch to her stomach, which sends her back and also breaks her armor. As Kamison moves forward, she asks where he's going since the battle isn't over. She grabs his foot, telling him that if she doesn't catch him, she won't be able to complete her goal of taking revenge on the celestial insects. Watching this, her boss remarks that she is completely useless, who just crawls on the ground. She calls him Jang Yul and asks what he's doing. He responds by questioning if she truly thinks he would help her with her revenge. He adds that in the end, he planned to offer her to the celestial insects as well. Feeling angry, Yejin tells him that she's endured all these hardships for him, and now he's just going to let her die like this. As Jang prepares to attack her with a hand strike, Kamison jumps into the air, but Jang doesn't see him. When Kamison lands, a blast erupts, and he leaps into the air again. Jang laughs and comments that there are mines planted in the area, and Kamison will explode soon. Meanwhile, Kamison thinks that he needs to increase his speed and aim for Jang's hand to defeat him. He activates a surge of power within himself. As Jang moves to strike again, Kamison dodges the attack, and by swiftly grabbing his hand, he quickly cuts off his head. Yejin gets shocked to see that, and he transforms back into his human form and orders the ants to consume the body. As he walks forward, Yejin calls out to him, asking why he saved her and if he's against the celestial insects. Then Kamison demands to tell him what happened the day they fought. Feeling surprised that he doesn't remember, she begins explaining that when she blocked his attack, he threw her harshly to the ground. As his armored hand moves to strike her, he orders it to stop. However, his own hand suddenly turns on him, and Yejin grabs it with her threads. In that moment, something triggers, and Kamison transforms back into his human form but faints. She continues that after that, she spent a long time thinking about whether or not to kill him. Eventually, she realized that he might be the hidden key to destroying the celestial insects. Telling him everything, she explains that now he is the target of the celestial insects because Jang is dead, and their supply of humans will decrease. She warns that if they dig deeper, they'll target his family, friends, and anyone close to him. She assures him that she will help him, and they have to fight together. However, Kamison rejects her offer, claiming that she's just clinging to anything because she can't handle this on her own. He tells her that he can't help those who are already lost. With that, he places his aunt's hand on her face and says he will devour everything. The next day at school, the teacher comes in and calls attendance, but when she asks about Yejin, she isn't present. The teacher is confused, as Yejin has never been absent before. Noticing this, Nosu and his friend look pleased. They mention that there was an accident at Namuncheon the day before, and since they often saw Yejin there, it likely means she's dead. The two are pleased by the news, but to their surprise, Yejin walks in and presents herself to the teacher. Meanwhile, at the spot where Jang was defeated, a group from the Bug Reapers is inspecting the area. They find his prosthetic leg and a strange bug pill. As they examine the scene, a healthy man approaches, who attempts to enter the restricted area. A worker tries to stop him by placing a hand on his shoulder, but the man quickly cuts the worker's hand away. The group immediately reacts, and one of them calls for backup, reporting that there's an untransformed insector present. The healthy man then kills everyone at the scene. After picking up the bug pill, he makes a call and informs the person on the other end that the sample has been secured. Meanwhile at school, Yejin tosses a note to Kamison, asking to meet him outside. When he joins her, he seriously asks why she called him. She questions why he's asking, as if he doesn't already know. She recalls the moment when he had placed his hand over her mouth, and how in that instant she thought she was going to die. But when she woke up, she found herself safe. As she reflects on this, Kamison steps closer to her, and she asks for his cooperation. He dismisses her, saying that she's just emergency food for him. Then she explains that he's now a target of the insectors too, and adds that insectors have one goal: to eliminate humans and rise to the top of the food chain. To achieve this, they are growing in size and eliminating anything that stands in their way. Despite her words, he still refuses. As they talk, Choa watches from above and feels a bit jealous at the sight of them together. At the Bug Reaper's office, a doctor outfits Tae with a special suit designed to fight insectors. Outside the room, the others watch, and Pio mentions that they've recently lost 4 members in an accident, which is why he wants to issue this suit to everyone. The doctor begins testing the suit by opening another door where an insector enters. Alone with the insector, Tae feels uneasy about his weapon, but the doctor reassures him, telling him to activate the built-in weapon in his suit. As Tae prepares, he suddenly notices that the insector is no longer in front of him. Feeling confused, he turns and gets surprised to see the insector appear behind him. When the insector tries to attack, the suit reacts quickly and pulls Tae out of the way just in time. Tae feels more confident, but the doctor warns him that this insector can move at speeds over 300 km/h, so he must stay focused on its movements. As the insector attempts to punch him, he blocks the attack and kicks it back. However, the insector grabs his neck, but before it can do more damage, an electric current strikes the insector, which saves Tae. The doctor announces that the test is complete and escorts the insector back to the special room. Meanwhile, Pio heads to the library to investigate further. He searches through old books but finds nothing of interest. Just as he's about to leave, he discovers a book titled Ant Castle Project. He opens it and finds a photo of an insector along with the name Kijima. Meanwhile, Yejin explains to Kamasan that in addition to dealing with the insectors, she has another goal: to kill a specific person. Feeling surprised, Kamasan asks who it is, and she reveals that the person is the leader of the celestial insects, Kijima. Hearing this, he recalls a moment when Kijima had killed his mother. As Kamasan walks home, she calls out to him from behind, and with a friendly tone, she asks if he's going hunting. When he declines, she suggests they could enjoy some meat together since they've reunited. Kamasan strictly asks if she plans to eat humans. She reassures him that she just wants to eat some delicious meat, not humans. They arrive at a hotel and order their meal. As the waiter sets down their food, he asks his boss what will happen if they don't finish their meal. The boss responds that they'll simply be charged for the leftover food. However, they're both surprised as Kamasan and Yejin begin eating quickly. Yejin then asks him what he knows about Kijima. When he refuses to answer, she remarks that something must have happened to his family. She tells him how Kijima killed both her parents, but she can't forget Kijima's words when he spared her life, saying he couldn't kill his own kind. As she speaks, Kamasan finishes all his food. Noticing this, Yejin orders more, which surprises both the waiter and the boss. After their meal, they leave the restaurant, and Yejin suggests they grab a drink. While she is ordering at a nearby drink shop, Kamasan notices something odd about the people walking around them. When a girl and a boy walk by, he angrily declares that he's going to eat them. The girl laughs and they walk away. When Yejin returns and asks about his strange look about the couple, he responds that someone is an insectors. Meanwhile, Choa arrives at the hospital where her friend Seijin is staying. Standing outside her room, she acknowledges that she knows Seijin doesn't want to see her, so she is just leaving a gift. Seijin tells her to leave, and as Choa walks away, she reflects on their past moments and also notices a beautiful girl walking down the corridor. Back in Seijin's room, she sits quietly on her bed. Suddenly the door opens and the same beautiful girl enters. She asks Seijin why she's angry, telling her that she shouldn't bottle up her feelings. She takes out a bug pill from her mouth and places it in Seijin's mouth, saying she needs to kill all the annoying humans. As soon as Seijin swallows the pill, something strange begins to happen to her, causing her to scream in pain. Meanwhile, the same boy and the girl are in the backyard, and she's amazed to see a pool. Her brother teasingly pushes her into the water and tells her that she can play as much as she wants. But when she looks up, she's confused to find him gone. To her surprise, he suddenly grabs her foot from underwater and throws her to the bottom of the pool, which causes her to faint. He mutters that now he can eat her to satisfy his hunger. The boy, an insector, suddenly feels something strange outside the window. It's Kamasan, the Ant-Man, who bursts through the glass and kicks the boy hard. The insector tries to fight back, but Yejin arrives and by using her thread magic, she ties him. She then pulls the girl out of the water and feels relieved to see that she's still alive. When the insector asks why they're interrupting his meal, Kamasan moves to attack him, but Yejin stops him and suggests that capturing the insector might reveal something important. Realizing they're hunting their own kind, the insector demands to know if they're truly confident they can defeat him. Suddenly, he transforms into his insector form, Zagana, and launches powerful slashes at them, which gives some injuries to them. He mocks them that they've always hunted weaklings, so now they dare to challenge a member of the celestial insects. Zagana is actually a pond skater insect, and as Kamasan and Yejin try to strike, he easily blocks their attacks with his twin swords and swiftly leaps toward Kamasan to attack. Then Yejin quickly pulls Kamasan out of the way of the attack. She feels confused by Zagana's movements and wonders if he has control over the water. She notes that the entire area is surrounded by water, and if she gets too close, she'll be in his deadly range. She reflects on the power of the celestial insects, realizing they are far stronger than she expected, even among the insectors. As she is thinking that, Kamison suddenly leaps towards Zagana and orders her to lay a thread across the water's surface. Despite her worries, she follows his command, and he realizes that he has to unlock the mysterious red power he gained from defeating Jiang. He moves closer to Zagana by focusing on eliminating the troublesome twin swords. The fight turns into a close combat struggle, and with swift moves, Kamison lands some punches on Zagana's ribs, causing the swords to drop. Fueling the red power, he leaps toward him for a final attack. However, to his surprise, Zagana pulls out 2 more swords from his back and delivers a powerful cross slash that cuts through Kamison's armor. Just as things are getting wrong, Yejin steps in, and by grabbing Zagana's sword with her threads, she pulls it up from his hand. Seeing the chance, Kamison swiftly grabs the sword and drives it into Zagana's chest. Zagana tries to retaliate with another slash, but Kamison blocks it with his hand and commands the ants to swarm and devour the insector, which causes Zagana to scream in pain. Suddenly, the same healthy guy who had previously killed members of the Bug Reaper group appears. He punches Kamison in the face, and by also striking Yejin, he throws his club card toward them and brings Zagana out of there. Meanwhile, Seijin returns to her town and goes to visit her friend, who is surprised to see her. Her friend asks her to move aside, but Seijin steps closer and gives her a sweet kiss on the lips, something she often does. However, this time, things are different because Seijin is now an insector, who extends a long tongue from her mouth and kills her friend on the spot. Once she's finished, the same beautiful woman who had given Seijin the bug pill in the hospital appears. She asks her about the taste of human blood as it's her first time drinking it, and Seijin comments that it's delicious. On the public train, a man stands among the crowd who is acting strangely. He feels hungry and suddenly, with his long tongue, he kills everyone on the spot. Meanwhile, Choa walks in the street on her way to school. She spots Kamison ahead, and, as she looks at his face, she's surprised to see that it's injured. As they walk together, he explains that he was in a fight, which is why he looks like this. When Choa arrives at school, she's happy to see Seijin, who looks much better now. She comments that she was so worried because she hadn't even visited her. Seijin tells her that she was trying to avoid meeting because she had gotten her hair cut. As the two chat, Kamison also comes to class, and Seijin asks her about the seat next to her. Choa mentions that it belongs to Yejin, the class leader. Meanwhile, Yejin rests at home and texts Kamison that she can't come to school because she has been to the hospital. She then looks at the card thrown by the mysterious man and wonders who he could be. At school, Nosu teases Seijin about her short hair. When he notices a cut on the back of her head, he's surprised but continues to tease her. As Seijin starts to get angry and her insector side begins to emerge, Choa suddenly punches Nosu in the face and tells him to apologize to Seijin for his behavior. Nosu agrees and quickly walks away. Meanwhile, Kamison senses something strange in Seijin's energy and thinks it's too unstable for her to be an insector. Back on the train, the man who killed all the passengers transforms into his larva insector form. At this moment, 2 brothers of the Bug Reaper group, Ko and Ro, arrive and are shocked by the size of the larva insector. Ro says they need to capture it and take it to headquarters so the doctor can investigate it. As they talk, the insector suddenly attempts to attack Ro, but Ko quickly throws a liquid at its face and shoots it in the head. However, the insector doesn't go down, and it strikes Ro with its tail. Ko angrily grabs the insector and comments that he's much stronger than his brother and throws it away. Noticing the opportunity, Ro leaps at the insector and swiftly cuts it away. As the insector dies, Ko says they still need to bring it back to headquarters, but Ro has already killed it. Just then, a small bug pill emerges from the insector's body and crawls into Ro's head. Afterward, the brothers arrive at the Bug Reaper group's headquarters, carrying the large larva. As they talk about Dr. Man, Tay and Sam call out to them from a corner. They mention hearing about the larva capture but tease the brothers that it's too bad they were the first to catch it. Ro steps forward with an unusual attitude, surprising Tay with his sudden behavior. Meanwhile, the doctors begin inspecting the large insector and discover the small larva inside it. Back at school, class ends, and Choa signals to Seijin that they have to get some meat together. They head to a hotel, where Kamison is also with them, and Seijin teasingly asks Choa if she's dating him, but Choa quickly denies it. However, Seijin feels confused to notice the way Kamison is looking at her. After they enjoy their meal, they leave the restaurant and suddenly Seijin receives a message that surprises her. She turns to Choa and says she needs to go somewhere urgently. As she leaves, Kamison and Choa start walking together. Choa happily comments that she's glad to see Seijin looking brighter than she expected. Then, she suddenly remembers that she needs to give Seijin an important book. When she tells Kamison she's going to leave, he grabs her hand and asks her not to go. He explains that Seijin has only just been discharged from the hospital, so the teacher will understand if she's a little late. Meanwhile, as Seijin talks on the phone, a car stops in front of her. An elderly man inside tells her to get in quickly. Nearby, Nosu's friend looks at Seijin and comments that he got punched because of her earlier. He also mentions he's jealous of her dad's nice car. Nosu quickly dismisses it, saying she doesn't have a dad. Later that night, Yejin heads to the club of the healthy guy, feeling worried they might only check her ID. When she arrives, she's surprised by the size of the club's building and the long line of men waiting outside. She texts Kamison, asking him to come to the six-shot club, but when he refuses, she comments that he always does this. At this moment, a man calls out to her from behind and asks if it's her first time at the club. He turns out to be Park Mingyun, the same insector she encountered earlier. Then he leads her inside the club, and she's immediately amazed by the beauty and lighting of the place. She starts playing with the lights and comments that it looks great here. To herself, she thinks that this is just a flashy club to gather information about the insectors. She shows him the card and says she was invited here. Mingyun looks at the card and tells her they need to move to another area. As they walk, they come to a large elevator, where Yejin gets surprised by its size. He explains that the VIP space should be special, and adds that they don't give invitations to just anyone, but it seems like she has some connection with their boss. As they reach the lower level, Yejin is stunned by the sight before her. There's a huge crowd of humans and insectors, some of them even fighting on a battlefield. Mingyun tells her that this is the VIP area of Club Six Shot, a lawless heaven and earth. As humans kill an insector, a large one named Jack suddenly appears and starts attacking the humans. Then Yejin surprisingly asks Park why humans and insectors are fighting, and he explains that the massive insector standing there is Queen Jack, the star of No Man's Land. He adds that with her size, she can rival any other species, but there are still some stronger than her. At this moment, another insector fires at Jack from behind and kills her on the spot. Yejin is shocked and asks what the meaning of this violence is. Park tells her that it excites and entertains the humans, while insectors gain honor through it, as they are given the chance to become a celestial insector. He adds that strength alone isn't enough. Most importantly, their ideology must align. He hands her a bug pill and mentions that there's also another way to become a celestial insector. Suddenly, another insector approaches him and informs him that the boss is looking for him. Yejin gets scared and quickly leaves through the big elevator. Park looks confused, and when the insector repeats the message about the boss, Park punches him hard in the face. The next day at school, Yejin approaches Kamison and starts hitting him playfully for not going with her to the club. When she gets tired, she tells him she has gathered some important information. Just then, Seijin and Choa enter the classroom, and Choa is surprised to see all the guys looking at Seijin differently. When Choa asks about the problem, the guys start murmuring that Seijin was with an old man yesterday. Hearing this, all of the guys are surprised and Seijin grabs Choa's hand and tries to pull her away. But before they can leave, Nosu approaches and begins teasing her. He mentions that his friend told him Seijin's dad picked her up in the car yesterday. Then, he remembers that Seijin doesn't have a dad. He adds that he was concerned when he saw the old man's expressions, so he quickly took a taxi and followed them. He even shows a picture of Seijin entering a hotel with the old man. As Nosu continues to irritate her, Yejin turns to Kamison and says they need to teach him a lesson again. But before they can act, Kamison suddenly senses something strange coming from the insector. Choa steps forward to punch Nosu, but Seijin stops her, and by taking her outside the classroom, she gently reassures her that she'll handle it herself. She closes the classroom door, but Nosu warns her that he'll report her to the school violence committee if she hits him again. Suddenly she starts laughing, which confuses the guys, and Nosu's friend mockingly apologizes to her. But he gets stunned when Seijin begins to transform into an insector. She punches him hard, and the entire class starts running for the door, but she blocks their way with her large hand. Looking at it all, Yejin turns to Kamison and asks if they should do something, but he rejects it because it's not a good idea with so many people watching. Then Seijin orders Nosu to step forward from where he's hiding among the others. Nervously, he approaches her, but she quickly grabs his neck with her long hand and angrily tells him that it's his fault her dream was shattered, because he's the one who pushed her down when the teacher insector attacked them before. As she's about to kill him with her long tongue, Kamison stops her and asks what she'll say to Choa if she kills Nosu. Meanwhile, Nosu orders his companions to report to the Bug Reaper, but when they don't move, he turns to Kamison and gives the same order. Hearing this, Seijin releases Nosu, and by remembering some past moments, she adds that even if she kills him now, she won't feel guilty. She pulls out some bug pills from her bag and tells him that she will make him feel the same pain she experienced. As she puts the pills into his mouth, he suddenly starts screaming in pain, and his body transforms into a bug insector, which shocks everyone. Seeing this, Yejin remembers the moment when Park had handed her the same bug pills, and she understands their purpose. Sitting by the window, Seijin comments that Nosu now completely resembles a bug. Just then, A teacher and Choa knock on the door. Saejin mutters that she doesn't want Choa to see her like this, and that she hates humans. With that, she jumps out of the window and quickly leaves the scene. As Choa and the teacher manage to push the door open, they are shocked to find a huge insector standing before them. The guy who was unconscious wakes up and comments that the insector is actually Saejin. He quickly grabs his phone, intending to report this to the Bug Reaper group. However, before he can make the call, Choa stops him. Meanwhile, Nosu looks at his reflection in the mirror and is horrified to see that he has completely transformed into an insector. Because of fear of the Bug Reaper group, he quickly jumps out of the window and escapes. From behind, Choa feels sad for her friend, while Kamasan and Yejin head in the direction where Saejin went. As they run through the streets, Yejin remarks that she believes Saejin is connected to Cheonjung. She points out that the medicine she gave Nosu is the same as what she received from the Six-Shot Club. They both agree that they've placed an ant and a thread on her, so they can track her movements. In some time, they reach the location where they find Saejin. They ask her to talk for a moment, but before she can respond, the same woman named Hannah appears. She hugs Saejin tightly and says that there's one thing she hates in this world: when someone touches what belongs to her. Hearing this, Yejin responds that she doesn't understand what Hannah is talking about, but they're just here to talk to Saejin. Suddenly, Hannah leaps forward to kick Yejin, but Kamasan pushes her aside and takes the kick himself. As Hannah prepares to punch Yejin, she stops and gently sucks her ear. Yejin tries to strike her, but Hannah swiftly moves out of the way, revealing that she's an insector. In response, Yejin transforms into her insector form and attempts to attack, but Hannah easily dodges her strike. Turning to Kamasan, she sees he has also transformed into his insector form and leaps toward her to punch her. But Hannah quickly sidesteps and says that they won't catch her with such predictable moves because disappearing in front of their eyes is her specialty. Meanwhile, Saejin is shocked to see that her friend Kamasan is also an insector. Kamasan jumps at Hannah again, aiming a powerful punch with his large hand, while Yejin casts a star trap around her using thread magic. However, both attacks have no effect on Hannah. She quickly forms a large injection in her hand and drives it into Kamasan's stomach. Seeing his blood, she gets surprised to find it's red. Just as Yejin leaps toward her, Hannah redirects the injection attack and strikes her arm instead. Yejin is confused because neither attack seems to affect them, but then the areas where Hannah injected them begin to swell. A blast erupts, causing their armor to shatter. As Hannah prepares to strike them again, Saejin steps in between and quickly lies that there are customers who wanted to know about the medicine. Hearing this, Hannah immediately stops, and by showing them the same bug pill, she explains that it is a special medicine that grants insectors great power when consumed. She adds that if a human takes it, they will transform into a mutant larva, and if they eat larva, the effect will be doubled. Both Kamasan and Yejin are shocked by this information. As two humans pass by, Hannah calls one of them over to demonstrate. She places the bug pill in the boy's mouth, and within moments, his body begins to transform into a large larva. The other boy becomes scared to see this, and Yejin is also shocked to see it happen once again. Hannah explains that it's a gift for them, as consuming the bug pill will make them stronger. With that, she leaves with Saejin, suggesting they visit her at Club Six-Shot if they're interested in the medicine. As they walk away, Kamasan steps forward and defeats the larva, which surprises Yejin, and she asks if he really plans to eat the transformed human. Kamasan orders his black ants to move and assures Yejin that he just wants to test it. As the ants begin consuming the larva, Yejin angrily remarks that Kamasan isn't any different from the other insectors, who eat humans just for power. She feels disgusted, but Kamasan simply orders her to stay silent and watch what happens. To her surprise, the guy begins transforming back into his human form. The ants, moving inside his body, retrieve the bug pill from his mouth. Kamasan explains that he's been uneasy about this existence ever since he first sensed it around Saejin. Yejin surprisingly asks if it's safe to let the ants eat them, and whether it will affect Kamasan. He admits he doesn't know, and as the ants return to his body, something strange begins to happen. He screams in pain, and Yejin becomes even more concerned. At Club Six-Shot, the boss, Kong Daejun, sits with several girl insectors and enjoys drinks. Hannah arrives with Saejin, and as they settle in, she remarks that she and Kong are equals here. Kong notices something on her arm and asks if she's been in a fight. Hannah confirms it, saying the opponent was feisty because he was young. As they talk, Kong suddenly mentions that 50 bug pills disappeared yesterday. Hannah casually responds that it means he got robbed. Without warning, Kong leaps forward and grabs Saejin's face, accusing her of being the one who stole the pills. Hannah gets shocked by this, quickly draws an injection and aims it at Kong's neck. In response, the other two girls draw their swords at her. Kong then demands answers from Saejin about the missing pills, and Saejin tells him that she fed them all to Nosu as part of her revenge on him. Hearing her explanation, Kong calms down and releases his grip. Hannah asks if he already knew she was the culprit. Kong explains that after discovering Seijin was behind the theft last night, he had her followed. He then adds that he's eager to find the person who consumed the 50 bug pills because he wants to eat him himself. Meanwhile, the Bug Reaper team is on a mission, tracking the larva insector, Nosu. They corner him and attack. As Nosu loses control, Pio delivers a powerful slash to his neck and defeats him. Just as Pio orders his team to secure the body, something unexpected happens. The ground starts pulling the team members down, and to their surprise, Park appears accompanied by a child insector. Seeing the situation, Pio sheaths his sword, and Park asks his companion if they are giving up on the fight. The team members inform Pio that they are sinking deeper into the ground, but he remains calm and asks Park if this attack is from the giant ant. The child insector senses something bad, and suddenly Pio aims his weapon at them and unleashes a powerful current attack toward the child. Growing angry, Park transforms into his insector form. As Pio approaches, Park steps in between and begins to fight him. At the same moment, the Bug Reaper team stops sinking, and Pio orders them to capture the large larva at all costs. He draws his sword once more, attempting to slash at Park, but Park easily blocks the attack. The fight intensifies as Park engages with twin swords. As Pio steps back, he asks if his attack feels heavier to him. At this moment, Pio throws smoke at Park and distracts him, which causes Pio to land a powerful slash on his shoulder. Then the child transforms into a formidable insector named Antlion, who attacks from beneath the ground. Pio manages to dodge, but Antlion hits one of the team members badly. The injured member starts sinking into the ground again. Then the insectors mention that they should take the larva to the club. Hearing this, Pio gets surprised and the team members focus on the fact that the insectors are trying to escape. As Pio attempts to attack them with his weapon, he realizes the weapon's battery is drained. Suddenly, the buildings in the area begin to collapse, and the Bug Reaper team flee for their lives. Just as Pio makes another attempt to catch Antlion, the insector throws one of the team members aside and swiftly escapes. As the fight ends, Pio seriously remarks that he will have to investigate all the clubs in the neighborhood, because now it's their turn to hunt. Meanwhile, Kamison chases an insector who is terrified of him. As he gets closer, he splits into two black ant forms and quickly defeats it at the spot. At school, some students gather around Nosu's empty seat, placing flowers in remembrance of him after his death at the hands of an insector. Some girls talk about Seijin, who also transformed into an insector. Hearing this, Choa feels upset and sternly tells them not to refer to Seijin as an insector, as she is her friend. Choa then approaches Yejin, asking her to tell her the truth about Seijin, as she was in the class at that time. Choa explains that while she saw everything through the window, she hadn't intervened because she was deeply saddened that her friend had turned into an insector. After speaking, Choa walks away and Yejin feels concerned for her. Meanwhile, in a hidden spot, Kamison watches calmly as his insector shelter consumes the body of another insector. He reflects on how, after consuming the larva that day, the number of ants increased. After several failed attempts, he created a swarm, and now he can let it hunt on its own. As he continues thinking, his insector shelter approaches, and he pulls something from its mouth, causing all the black ants to return to his body. Suddenly, he senses the presence of 3 insectors nearby. He thinks that this is a perfect opportunity to test his new strength. Transforming into Ant-Man, he heads toward their location. But as he draws closer, he senses that one of the insectors has suddenly vanished. He watches from a distance as 2 insectors stand under the bridge. He sees one of them, Bera, kill his companion. Bera calls out to the second insector, Red, and asks if he brought him here just for this. Red confirms and explains that he's been wanting to take down their enemies for a long time. He adds that he hasn't been able to do so due to management control, but now he can. At that, Bera leaps at Red, but Red lands a powerful punch to his stomach and defeats him instantly. Then Red senses Kamison watching from afar. He calls out and asks if he wants to face him in a fight as well. Kamison agrees and steps forward. Red asks him for his name, stating that before he kills someone, he should at least know their name. Saying that, he leaps forward and punches Kamison in the chest. However, the punch has no effect, and in return, another shell emerges from Kamison's shoulder and strikes Red. Then Kamison introduces himself as Black Ant, saying this will be the last name Red will hear. Red charges again, but Kamison easily dodges his attack and then counters with a punch. Red thinks that he can easily avoid it, but when the punch lands on his face, he kneels down and realizes that while the punch seemed simple to read, its power and speed are unbelievable. In response, Red activates his full power mode, though he didn't want to use it, but it's an emergency now. As he punches him again, a blinding light bursts from Red's body, shattering the entire bridge. Both of them quickly jump off the bridge to avoid the destruction. Just then, Kamison notices a bus is about to fall. Without hesitation, he throws his ant's shell attack at Red and rushes to save the bus. Red dodges the attack and follows Kamison to help. Together, they manage to save everyone on the bus. The passengers thank them and hurry away. Red then says that the second round has begun. He leaps at Camison to attack, but Camison easily stops him and delivers a powerful punch to Red's face, cracking his face armor. He grabs Red by the neck, but just as he's about to finish him, he throws him aside and walks away. Despite this, Red comments that he will definitely destroy him. After that at night, Choa is walking through the streets when she receives a call from her mother. Her mother asks where she is and mentions that Arthur told her Choa goes looking for Saejin every day after school. Choa tries to hide the truth, but when her mother insists she come home immediately, Choa agrees. As she turns to head home, a child calls out to her from behind, asking if she's talking about Saejin. The child turns out to be Cheon, the same antlion who had attacked the Bug Reaper group before. He tells her that he knows where Saejin is and starts leading her to another location. On the way, Choa asks who he is, and he mistakenly says he's an Insector senior. Pleased with this, Choa asks how Saejin is doing with his job. Cheon replies that Saejin is stuck with Hanag and won't let go, describing it as a kind of disease. After hearing about her, Choa feels reassured and tells Cheon she needs to go now. But Cheon suddenly reveals that the real reason he brought her here wasn't because of Saejin. It's because he's hungry, and now he plans to eat her. As he summons some larvae, Choa gets scared. Cheon explains that he fled for his life, started eating humans, and finally embraced his identity as an antlion. Choa starts running, but Cheon quickly transforms into his Insector form and uses his ability to catch her. As he sends the larvae to attack, Yejin suddenly appears, using her thread ability to cut them all down. She kicks Antlion away and frees Choa from his trap. Feeling confused, Antlion asks Yejin who she is. She replies simply that she is Silk, and by ordering Choa to run, she starts fighting with Antlion. As some of the larvae attack her, she effortlessly grabs them with her threads and cuts them down on the spot. Antlion grows more confused and asks why she suddenly showed up while he was eating. He realizes she's the one who destroyed the Zagana, but he's curious about her second companion, wondering how she plans to defeat him alone. In response, Yejin pulls out a bug pill, specifically designed to deal with celestial insectors like him. Seeing the pill, Antlion becomes worried and orders her to put it down. Without hesitation, she swallows the pill, which only fuels Antlion's anger. He throws a long arm attack at her, but to his surprise, she grows stronger. In an instant, she cuts through his long arms with just her hair. She leaps at him, delivering a powerful kick that cuts through his actual arms. Despite this, Antlion refuses to back down. He launches a long tongue attack at her, wrapping it around her neck. However, he grows even more worried when he sees that the attack doesn't even leave a scratch. She calmly tells him that his attack won't affect her because she's become stronger. She then grabs his tongue with her threads and slices it off. Antlion screams in pain and tries to escape by burrowing into the ground. He vows to return for revenge, but Yejin isn't about to let him go. She quickly spreads more thread nets underground and tears him into pieces. After finishing him off, she feels satisfaction, realizing how much stronger she has become. She has even taken down a celestial insector. Just then, Park appears in his Insector form and challenges her to the second round. Yejin feels a bit scared at first, noticing Camison isn't with her, but she quickly reassures herself, knowing that with her new powers, she can handle this fight on her own. With that thought, she quickly leaps at him, launching a hair attack and declaring that she'll take care of him now. Park tries to block the attack with his twin swords, but the force of her hair shatters both swords instantly. He realizes that if he lets his guard down, he could die right here. He draws his other twin swords and mutters that the effects of the drug are starting to end. As he begins counting, Yejin gets closer, aiming to kick him. Just as he expected, the drug's power fades, and the powerful hair from her head vanishes. Feeling surprised, she realizes what's happening. Then Park tells her that the bug pill's effect doesn't last long. By putting the sword on his neck, he orders her to come with him quietly. Meanwhile, Camison is sitting at home with his grandmother and watching TV. Suddenly he receives a message from Cheo, who asks him if he will be going to school tomorrow. Camison thinks about it for a moment and decides he's still not good at controlling the swarm, so he doesn't need to go. He then texts Yejin, asking about her. Meanwhile, Yejin is at Club Sixshot, where Park has brought her. A group of insectors is beating her badly. As Park watches, he recognizes her as the same girl who came to the club the other day. He then hears a sound coming from her purse. He checks her phone and sees a message from Black Ant. Back at Camison's house, he tells his grandmother that he's heading to bed and won't be going to school tomorrow. As he checks his phone, he notices a new message with a photo. Feeling surprised, he sees a picture of Yejin's broken helmet, with a Club Sixshot card placed on it. At the club, Park approaches Yejin, who is locked in a cage after the fight, and asks why she's so weak. He notes that the bug pills are gone because another girl took them all. Then he asks her why she's doing all this. Yejin replies that her goal is insect extermination. Park is surprised by her answer but adds that he spared her because, in the end, They're all the same. He tells her that the next match will start soon, and it's a special one for her, so she needs to get ready. Meanwhile, in the battleground, the referee, Jaja, begins announcing the match. He explains that 10 participants will enter the ring, but only one will survive. He first introduces the protagonist of this match, Yejin. As she enters, Jaja explains the rules. Every minute, an opponent will be added. If they can't kill their opponent within a minute, the enemies will continue to grow, leading to a cruel death. Then he announces the second player, and the match begins. The Insector leaps toward Yejin, aiming to attack. Meanwhile, another Insector, Red, is practicing in his cage, with Park standing beside him. Park tells Red that he's the 10th player in the match. Red looks at him seriously, and asks if he really wants him to participate in such an unreasonable game. He suggests that Park should use him as the star of the main event, but Park replies that if he did, Red would kill all the other players and ruin the business. Red adds that he wants to kill Park and Kong, the boss. Just as they're talking, Park's phone rings, and he's shocked to hear the news that the elevator used by the VIPs to descend is missing. Park quickly orders Red to get ready, as his opponent has arrived. Meanwhile, in the battleground, the referee is surprised to see that Yejin has easily defeated her fourth opponent. He quickly announces that the fifth contestant, Queen Jack, has arrived. Jack attacks with swift moves, overpowering Yejin and throwing her to the ground. As Yejin grows exhausted, 3 more contestants appear and surround her. Just as a minute passes, the referee prepares to call in the 9th player. However, to his shock, the head of the 9th player is suddenly cut off in front of him. Then Kamison enters the arena in his powerful Insector form. The referee strictly asks who he is, commenting that unregistered players aren't allowed to fight. Kamison orders him to stay quiet, then throws a fire attack with his hand, which melts the referee's arm. Afterward, he demands to know where Yejin is and orders them to bring her to him. He begins shooting at the other Insectors, but suddenly Yejin calls out to him from behind the crowd. She warns him that if he continues, he'll risk dragging her into his attack. Though happy to see him, her expression quickly shifts when Park appears and places a sword against her neck. Kamison hesitates to shoot because she's there. Park orders the other Insectors to attack and kill Kamison. As they approach, Kamison activates more power, effortlessly taking them down. Seeing this, Jack jumps at him and presses him to the ground. Park orders her to bring Kamison to him. However, to his surprise, Jack's body suddenly bursts into pieces, and Kamison emerges from it. Realizing that Kamison has grown stronger, Park asks if he's consumed any larvae. Kamison orders him to hand over Yejin, calling her his emergency food. Meanwhile, the crowd grows furious at Park, demanding their money back since all the Insectors are dead, and they had placed bets on them. Park angrily tells them he will return their money, but only if they place even bigger bets. Kamison realizes that Park intends to fight him alone now, and he confidently declares he will finish him quickly. However, Park tells him that he's not his true opponent. The real opponent is behind him, the 10th player of the battle. Kamison turns around and sees Red, the same opponent he fought earlier. He asks if he is seeking revenge, and Red confirms it before leaping at him to attack. But to his surprise, Red changes direction midair and lands a powerful punch directly on Park's face instead. Kamison feels confused about this, and Red tells him that he has observed everything from above and assures him he can leave now. He promises to handle Park on his own. Kamison agrees, and by grabbing Yejin, he quickly heads out. Behind them, Park transforms into his Insector form and begins battling Red. As Kamison rushes with Yejin, she asks how he managed to get down here without the keycard. Kamison casually replies that he broke the elevator. Yejin is surprised and urges him to get her out of there quickly. However, as Kamison starts climbing, he senses something odd. To his shock, Kong, the boss, suddenly appears and delivers a hard punch to Kamison's face, breaking his face armor. Kong glares at him, demanding to know how he dared destroy the club's property. He recalls the moment when he was about to eat Nosu's Insector, but his servant interrupts, informing him that someone has destroyed the elevator. Reacting quickly, Kong arrives and starts fighting Kamison. He grabs Kamison by the neck and throws him toward the wall. Kamison screams in pain, but Kong orders him to stay quiet and punches him in the face. As Kong grabs Kamison's head, Kamison hurls an ant's shell at him, landing a blow to Kong's face. However, the attack has no effect. Just as Kong is about to retaliate, Yejin uses her threads to grab his hand. For the first time, Yejin pushes herself to her limits. She realizes that even if she pulls out all her threads, it still won't be enough. Kong laughs and orders them to give their best. At the battleground, Red beats Park, telling him to stand up because he doesn't attack opponents who are already down. Suddenly, the wall crashes open and Kong throws Kamison and Yejin into the ring. Both Red and Park are stunned by his arrival. Kong orders Park to stop acting weak, reminding him that he is his subordinate. The crowd is shocked to see Kong in person and comments that he looks like a thug. Kong asks the Insectors if they're hungry and mentions that he was in the middle of a meal before being interrupted. He then orders Park to open the ceiling. As the ceiling opens, humans and larvae start falling from above. Kamison and Yejin are shocked and step in front of Kong. Kamison tells Yejin and Red to stop Kong from eating the bug pills and the larvae, while he takes care of the rest. Yejin worries about how they can handle such a massive opponent, but Red reassures her, telling her to leave it to him. As Kong reaches for the bug pill and the larvae, Red leaps toward him to attack. Kamison calls out from behind, telling Yejin to run because he came here to save her. However, Yejin refuses, saying she'll hold Kong off until he absorbs the larva. Kamison reluctantly agrees and orders all the black ants to emerge and eat the bug pills. While the black ants start devouring the pills, Red tries to punch Kong, but Kong surprises him by grabbing his hand with his teeth and easily throws him to the ceiling. Seeing this, Yejin quickly forms a net with her thread to catch Red and tells him to jump back by assuring that she'll back him up. Red leaps at Kong once more, using all his strength to land a punch to Kong's face and sends him back. However, Kong just laughs, revealing that he's already consumed the bug pill. Both Red and Yejin are stunned by this, and Kong quickly lunges forward to attack them and throws a simple punch from a distance that sends Red crashing into the wall behind him. Red realizes that the wind pressure from Kong's punch alone caused such destruction, and that even without his insector form, Kong is incredibly powerful. As Kong steps back to eat more bug pills, Red charges at him again, attempting to land another punch from behind. But Kong effortlessly kicks Red in the chest and breaks his armor. Kong begins eating the bug pills again, consuming nearly 5 of them. However, when he reaches for another, he is confused to see the larva transforming back into a human. The bug pills inside it are quickly devoured by a swarm of black ants. Kamison orders the ants to return to him, and as he consumes the 10th bug pill, Kong grows angry and comments to kill him before he can fully digest the pills. In response, Kamison commands the ants to form around him, creating 10 protective shells. He then assembles a powerful weapon on his arm and declares that he will devour Kong. Looking at him, Kong comments that facing just 11 of them will be an easy victory for him. Kamison orders the ants to move and attack. As the ants close in, Kong easily knocks them away and tells Kamison to show him his true strength. One of the ants creates a massive hand and leaps to punch, but Kong effortlessly dodges it. At this moment, several ants grab Kong's feet, while 2 others form powerful weapons in their hands. Following Kamison's command, the ants fire at Kong, triggering a huge explosion that even surprises Yejin. As the dust clears, Kamison is shocked to see that Kong isn't defeated. Instead, he has transformed into his insector form, Igeositu. Kong declares that he will kill him with his own hands, and Kamison quickly orders the 2 ants to fire at him again, but Kong punches them with full force and sends them back. Realizing the situation is getting worse, Kamison orders the ants to regroup, but it's too late because Kong has already approached him and pushes him hard against the wall. After beating him mercilessly, he grabs him by the head and comments that he's already dead. But just then, Kamison commands the ants to eat him. This feels Kong confused as the ants swiftly leap toward Kamison and begin devouring him. Kamison screams in pain, and Kong remarks that he's committing suicide. However, to his shock, a massive and powerful ant monster rises up in front of him. Meanwhile, Park is standing up, and an insector informs him that the boss has left the arena. Park realizes that the higher-ups must have already been notified, and that the executive of the celestial insects, Hexagon, will definitely arrive. He orders the insector to take the money and leave because this club is finished for today. Back in the arena, Kong resumes fighting Kamison, using his full power to attack. After landing a strong blow that knocks Kamison down, Kong is surprised when Kamison leaps back up to attack again. Kamison unleashes a laser attack, pushing Kong back, but Kong dismisses his attacks as simple and retaliates with a powerful punch that causes the entire area to collapse. Yejin watches in surprise, noticing that Kamison is still fighting. Kong taunts him, saying that no one can defeat him like this. He lands another punch, severing Kamison's hand. As Kong continues to break more of Kamison's body, he feels satisfied. But to his surprise, Kamison's body begins to reassemble, and he leaps at Kong again. Kong states that he will break Kamison no matter how many times he comes at him. However, when he attempts to punch again, his own hand cuts down. Kong watches in shock as the ants begin devouring him and he feels angry, but as he attacks again, the ants effortlessly dodge his blows. He grows confused, realizing that every time he tries to break Kamison, he feels as if he's being consumed more and more. Suddenly, all parts of his body begin to sever on their own, as the ants activate their magic. Kong recalls facing a powerful insector before, and the feeling he's experiencing now reminds him of that moment. He gets scared and screams in pain as the black ants devour every part of his body. Once Kong is completely consumed, the ants regroup around Kamison, who now exudes an even more dangerous aura. Both Yejin and Red are also stunned by the transformation. They notice that his eyes have turned red, and he seems to have lost control of himself. Kamison grabs both of them and threatens to eat them. In response, Red punches him and Yejin desperately urges him to regain his senses. However, Kamison releases a swarm of ants toward them. As the ants begin their magic outside, inside Kamison's body, the real Kamison is kneeling before a group of black ants. He watches in surprise as a red ant appears and kills the black ants, telling Kamison that he must live. This revelation snaps Kamison back to reality, and something strange begins to happen to his body. Both Yejin and Red are confused, as the ants that had been attacking them begin to retreat. Kamison screams as his body transforms back into its human form, though he is badly injured. Yejin quickly rushes to him, and by holding him in her arms, she notices that he's crying and calling out for his mother. She hands him to Red and urges him that they need to leave because the area is about to collapse. As they begin to move, Park and another man appear from behind. Seeing the man, Red immediately tells Yejin to take Kamison away because the man is strong. The man comments that he has something to say, but before he can continue, Park suddenly leaps at Kamison to attack. In response, the man swiftly grabs Park and slams him into the wall, asking if he plans to attack like that. The man introduces himself as Hexagon, the celestial insector. His human name is Dogen. He tells Kamison and the others that he has a message to deliver from Lord Kojima. He casually informs them that Kojima has sent a message for No. One that he has been watching him and will visit soon. But until then, no. One must stay alive. Both Red and Yejin are puzzled, and Yejin asks if Dogen is also a celestial insector. He explains that there are 6 powerful men who serve as the executives of the celestial insects, known as the 6 legs that support Kojima. He adds that Kong had the potential to reach this position, but now, this is what has happened. Yejin is shocked to learn that Dogen is stronger than Kong, and there are 6 others like him besides Kojima. Dogen continues that there's no need for a bug like Kong who goes against Lord Kojima's will. He explains that insectors are the product of a superior evolution, only granted to the chosen ones. According to Dogen, Lord Kojima's plan is to elevate the insectors to the top of the food chain, with the celestial insects leading the way. He dismisses Kong as just another bug in the grand scheme of things. He reveals that the celestial insects are at war with humans, and their goal is nothing less than the extermination of humanity. He tells them that he could kill them now, but first asks if they would join the celestial insects. Both Yejin and Red are shocked by the offer and quickly reject it. Dogen laughs, then tosses Park in front of them, commenting that it's a reward for them. He adds that Kojima mentioned that someone in their group needs to eat insectors to survive. With that, he activates his power and swiftly disappears. Red comments that the celestial insects are incredibly powerful and tells Yejin that they need to leave immediately. They make their way out, carrying Kamison and Park with them. As they move, Yejin looks at Park and asks Red why he brought him along. Red simply replies that he wants Park to be his punching bag. While they're talking, the Bug Reaper group suddenly appears. Reacting quickly, Yejin puts on a thread mask for both of them, and they hurry to escape. Some of the Bug Reapers fire at them, but Red blocks the shots and lands a powerful punch, sending them back. Meanwhile, the group informs Sam, who is standing outside the club, that the insectors are emerging. Sam focuses, but to his surprise, the insectors break through the wall and quickly fly away. Sam tries to fire at them, but he's too late. Then they report to Pio, informing him that one insector has been captured. Pio realizes that they're one step behind again. At this moment, he's in an executive meeting with several powerful individuals, and by apologizing for the delay, he begins the meeting. As the group discusses Pio and Jin, noting that many attacks in the area have happened because of them, Jin explains that he called this meeting to come up with a plan to prevent future casualties. Another member, Woon, begins teasing Jin about a past incident, but before their conversation can go any further, Yan interrupts. She comments that they need to wrap up the meeting quickly, as she's feeling sleepy. Pio agrees with her, adding that, as everyone has pointed out, they've been constantly defeated by the bugs. However, today's meeting isn't about reflecting on past losses. He explains that they are here to prepare for the possibility of a bug invasion and an all-out war. He notes that the bugs have been acting strangely lately. Initially, they appeared to be moving alone, but now they seem to be organizing into groups, centered around strong and intelligent individuals. They've formed a group called the Celestial Insects, and it looks like they have a systematic organization. Pio says that to stand a chance against the insectors, they need a countermeasure. He then places a book called Ant Castle Project on the table, something he obtained earlier. The group starts looking at the pictures in the book, and Pio begins to explain its contents. Suddenly, Dr. Man enters and tells him to stop flipping through the book, as it holds a personally painful story for him. He adds that the book belongs to his disciple, and when Pio asks if he was directly involved in the project, Man replies that he only observed from the sidelines. He explains that the Ant Castle Project was a top-secret initiative carried out when the Bug Reaper team was still a research group. It was designed to create a countermeasure against the insectors. The research was successful, and 3 versions of the insect countermeasure were developed. Then one day, a mysterious explosion occurred, destroying everything in the lab. Only one test subject survived. When Pio inquires about the test subject, Man admits that he doesn't know the details and that he is unaware of what the higher-ups decided afterward. He suggests that if they need a power to rival the Insectors, there's another option: the Insector gene injection. He begins explaining the process and mentions a man from Un's branch who became significantly stronger through the experiment. However, before he can continue, Jin hits a punch onto the table and strictly orders Man to stop talking. The room goes silent as everyone stands up and exits the meeting. Jin apologizes to Pio for his actions but insists they need to stop discussing that subject. Meanwhile, at Bug Reaper Branch B, Ro kills his own brother Ko, because he too is an Insector. Afterward, he opens the door and greets a special presence, saying he's been waiting for him. The presence is none other than the powerful Master Kojima. As he enters, Ro bows before him and asks to be awakened. Without a word, Kojima grabs him by the head and crushes it. The other Bug Reaper workers rush in to confront Kojima, but their bullets have no effect on him. He calmly demands to know the location of someone, and with a swift move, he slices them all and begins destroying everything in sight. Meanwhile, Pio, Tae, and Jin are on their way back after learning that Ko is still alive. They receive news that a single Insector is destroying the area named Kojima. Getting shocked, the 3 hurry to the scene. When they arrive, they witness the building being blasted. Then Kojima emerges from it, looking disappointed because he couldn't find the person he came for. Seeing him, Pio and Jin quickly draw their weapons and charge at him. Meanwhile, Yejin and Kamison are at Red's home. She's impressed by his room, which is filled with medals and trophies from his achievements. At this moment, Red enters the room in his human form after taking the bath. His real name is Sung. They move toward the sofa where Kamison is still unconscious. Suddenly, a group of black ants crawls across the floor, causing Sung to quickly jump on the sofa. He asks Yejin if she wants him to call a cab for Kamison, but she declines, explaining that Kamison lives with his grandmother, and if he shows up like this again, she might have a heart attack. Yejin then shifts to a more serious topic, mentioning that the message Kojima left was likely intended for Kamison. She expresses concern, noting that the look in Kamison's eyes when he thought about Kojima showed a strong desire for revenge. Meanwhile, as Jin and Pio attack Kojima, their strikes have no effect. In response, Kojima launches a small attack that pushes them both back. Jin notices the presence of ants inside Kojima and throws an axe at him. When the axe strikes Kojima's body, Jin quickly leaps forward and delivers another axe blow to the same spot, causing only a small amount of blood to spill. Feeling surprised, Jin asks if Kojima is really an Insector, then continues slashing at him. Kojima calmly responds that his body is that of the king of the Insectors. He steps forward toward Pio and Jin cuts his arm off. However, Kojima doesn't stop and remarks that humans have their limits. He then approaches Pio, asking if he knows about the case. Pio answers that the case is classified and asks what he plans to do with it. Kojima explains that the case contains a power that, if obtained, will make the Insectors immortal. Just as he speaks, Tae charges at him with a car, but Kojima effortlessly slices the car in half. Tae assures Pio that he will handle this guy, so he has to escape with Jin. Then Sam arrives in a helicopter and fires a rocket launcher at Kojima, creating a huge explosion. He orders Pio and Jin to get in quickly. However, they are shocked to see that Kojima is still alive. Meanwhile, at school, only Kamison and Yejin are in the classroom, as everyone else is on a school trip. Yejin mentions that she also wants to go on the trip. When Kamison asks how to get there, she asks for his phone. Afterward, they leave the school, and Yejin assures him that they can reach Pohang faster than anyone else. Just then, Sung arrives in his car to pick them up. Yejin is impressed, and they get into the car, ready to head to the school trip. Kamison texts his grandmother to let her know he's going to Pohang. When she offers to call Kim to clear the road, he assures her that he has already taken care of it. Meanwhile, in the forest, a group of soldiers is stationed, and their senior, Kim Hyungjin, catches a dragonfly with his bare hands. His teammates are impressed by his skill, but Kim casually comments that it tastes delicious. He then places the dragonfly in one of his team members' mouths, telling him it's protein and that he should eat it. The boy starts coughing, but Kim orders him to swallow it. Later, a group of soldiers play soccer on the playground, and the same boy stands as the goalkeeper. He begins to feel cold, and when the ball comes toward him, he fails to stop it. One of the other soldiers starts beating him for the mistake. Soon after, all the soldiers gather on the field in front of their captain. The captain asks about their condition and if anyone is sick. The soldiers assure him everything is fine, but then he notices the same boy, shaking because of the cold. He sees the boy's injured face and asks about the problem. The boy lies that he simply fell while playing soccer. Later, while the boy is standing at his duty position, Kim approaches him to apologize for his previous behavior. However, when he notices the boy isn't responding, he becomes frustrated. The dragonfly the boy ate earlier is beginning to take effect, and the boy starts transforming into an insector. Kim is horrified when he sees the boy's new form, and before he can react, the boy kills him on the spot. Meanwhile, a school bus full of students is on a trip, with Choa sitting inside. The news on the TV reports the explosion at the Bug Reaper branch, but the students are enjoying themselves. One of the students offers Choa a lollipop, but she punches him in the face and breaks his teeth. As she bends down to pick up the lollipop, something strange happens. The same soldier who had transformed into an insector earlier appears outside the bus and opens fire, killing all the students. However, because Choa is bent down, she avoids the bullets. Meanwhile, as Kamasan and the others make their way, Sung asks when they first transformed into insectors. He starts by sharing his own story and explains that he began boxing because of his natural athleticism and quickly became the rookie king. One day, he got into a fight with a tough guy from Incheon and beat him badly. The next day, the guy's gang came after him, and he ended up getting badly beaten. At that moment, his emotions took over, and he lost control, so he transformed into an insector. He adds that he was confused at first about why he transformed into a ladybug. He then asked Hannah, who was making the larvae drug at the time, for an explanation. She told him that in a lifetime, humans unknowingly consume about 100 different kinds of insects, and the genes of a special individual that haven't been fully absorbed into the body can infiltrate. After finishing his story, Yejin starts to explain her own experience. She tells them that while driving back from helping her dad with farm work, she was looking out the car window when a bug flew into her mouth. A few months later, on the day her parents were killed by Kojima, she also awakened as an insector. Then they ask Kamasan about his first awakening, but he lies that he doesn't remember anything because he was too young. As they approach the location, they notice cars turning around and see a lot of soldiers gathered. Sung asks one of the soldiers about the situation, and the soldier tells them to turn back, as an operation is underway ahead. Suddenly, Kamasan orders Yejin and Sung to keep moving forward because there is an insector up ahead. Sung agrees, lying to the soldier that they are turning around, and then quickly speeds up the car forward. Meanwhile, at the danger zone, the soldiers are fighting a dragonfly insector. After easily defeating them, the insector begins picking up the soldiers' ammunition and grenades. A soldier calls for backup, reporting that the first platoon has been wiped out. At this moment, the Bug Reaper group arrives and reassures the soldier that they will handle the situation. Nan, the branch manager, steps forward with her team, ready to take on the insector with her skills. When the soldier insector Assay attempts to fire at Nan, her companions rush in to protect her, launching a powerful current attack that forces him to push back. Noticing the opportunity, Nan leaps forward and lands a series of strong punches to his face. As he begins to lose control, she orders her companions to capture him alive and take him to the branch, where he might still have some consciousness. But before they can react, Assay recalls a moment when Kim gave him a dragonfly. In an instant, he transforms his hand into a weapon and launches a deadly attack with the dragonflies, which kills Nan's companions on the spot. She gets stunned, and Assay commands his dragonflies to attack her, but she responds by unleashing another burst of electricity which kills them all. To her surprise, Assay begins to flee. She tries to strike him from behind but fails, so she immediately starts chasing him. Meanwhile, Yejin and Sung arrive at the bus, but when they look inside, they find it empty. Sung asks the police officer about it, and the man explains that the bus was already empty when they arrived. He also adds that there's no record of anyone being taken to the hospital. After hearing this, Yejin calls Kamasan, who is chasing Assay as well. When he asks about the students, she tells him that they're all gone. She explains that since everyone is missing, it's clear they've been hidden away to be used as food. In response, Kamasan shifts into his Ant-Man form and leaps forward to track down Assay. Meanwhile, Choa is in a secret location where Assay has brought all the dead students. She dreams about the moment when Assay killed the students on the bus. Suddenly, she wakes up to find herself in a dangerous spot, and she notices that Assay has arrived. Seeing him, she quickly lies down among the other dead bodies, trying to stay hidden. Assay approaches one of the corpses and begins eating it violently, leaving Choa stunned. When he turns to leave, she realizes she must escape or she'll become his next meal. In a panic, she calls Kamasan, who assures her he'll come to save her. Just then, Assay notices she's still alive and grabs her by the neck. Choa pleads for him to let her go, but he doesn't listen. As he prepares to eat her, Kamasan suddenly arrives and lands a powerful punch to Assay's face. The force of the blow sends Assay back, and his arm is severed in the process. Choa feels confused about why this Ant-Man is saving her, and Kamasan quickly orders the ants to gather around her to protect her from the attack. Meanwhile, Assay forms a large rifle from his hand and starts firing at Kamasan. Kamasan leaps forward, skillfully dodging the bullets, and aims a punch at Assay's face. However, as a trained soldier, Ase easily avoids the punch and lands one of his own on Kamison's face. As they clash, Ase fires at Kamison's stomach, forcing him to step back. Then he releases a dragonfly attack, which splits Kamison's body in two. Despite the damage, Kamison's body quickly reverts to its original form. With his power, he creates a massive hand and slaps Ase on the face. In response, Ase fires at him, but he blocks all the shots with his large hand and orders the black ants to attack. The ants quickly swarm around Ase and manage to cut one of his legs. However, Ase grabs Choa and begins to flee. Noticing this, Kamison quickly starts following him through the air as well. As they move, Ase asks Choa why Kamison is saving her when no one had saved him before. He angrily throws her down, intending to let her die, but Kamison catches her just in time. As Ase prepares to fire at them, Nan suddenly arrives and unleashes a powerful electric attack on Ase and defeats him on the spot. She then tells Kamison to let go of Choa because this girl will only get in the way of her finishing him. She asks if he plans to take Choa hostage, then angrily leaps at him to strike. Kamison swiftly moves aside and she grabs the unconscious Choa and also gently lays her down. As she continues to attack with all her power, she realizes Kamison isn't counterattacking, he's only defending against her moves. Feeling confused, she asks him who he really is, and if he's truly trying to protect Choa. He confirms it, and she brings up the matter of 397 people who were killed the day before, angrily pointing out that there's no way an insector could save anyone if those people were also killed by one. As she charges at him again, Choa suddenly stops her from behind. She tells her that she knows Nan kills insectors to save lives, but Kamison is just like her, because he saved her too. As she steps in front of him, Nan gets surprised and by grabbing Choa tightly, she warns her that Kamison is an insector, a beast that often kills humans. She adds that while he may have saved her now, he might be hiding something and trying to deceive her. She angrily mentions that her comrades were also killed by an insector named Kijima, who was created by humans to protect humanity and was meant to counteract other insectors. Hearing the name, Kamison gets stunned and thinks to himself why Kijima would target the Bug Reapers. He realizes there's a strong possibility that Kijima made a move against them after learning about Kamison's existence, and that this attack on the Bug Reapers might be connected. With that thought, he pulls Choa by the shoulder, and as he begins to transform back into his human form, he tells her that he promised to save her. He adds that he understands why Kijima came here, because it's all connected to the case. Afterward, Nan and Choa sit in the truck, and Nan calls a senior to inform them that she's heading to the headquarters with the marine deserter insector in custody. She also mentions they've captured a black ant who has information about the case. Once she provides all the details, she arrives at the headquarters, where Yejin and Sung are also following her. They both feel confused about Kamison's intentions and what's going through his mind. They recall the moment when they were at the location with Kamison and Nan, and Kamison was easily preparing to go with them. Just as they tried to intervene and save him, a group of black ants appears and tells them to follow Kamison and not take any action. Inside the headquarters, Nan greets the workers and asks a lady to take care of Choa and heads toward the interrogation room with Kamison. As Choa walks with the lady to the infirmary, she notices another room where Pio is tending to Jin, who has his arm and leg injured. She also sees a few people attending to Kojima's injured arm. Meanwhile, Jin recalls a past moment when Tae agreed to accept the injection of insect factors in order to save everyone during the fight. As he thinks about the situation, he feels guilty, believing everything is happening because of him. Noticing his distress, Pio reassures him that even with one arm and one leg, he will still be the strongest Bug Reaper. While they're talking, Pio receives a call that surprises him. He excuses himself by telling Jin he needs to step out for a smoke. He heads to Nan and asks about the student she brought. She explains that this person knows Kijima's goal and the Ant Castle project Pio had mentioned. She reveals that he's the first product of the Black Ant experiment. Pio gets surprised by the news and they bring the student to the interrogation room, where everyone is watching through the glass. As they observe, Pio reflects on an image from a book, and Kamison comments that Kijima, who is known as the King of Insectors, also knows he's a product of the same project. Pio asks him if he's the same as Kijima, but Kamison rejects it, stating that while he doesn't have clear memories of his childhood, he understands the kind of being Kijima is. He explains that he is Project Number 2, a hybrid creature created by combining the strongest insects with the Ant Castle project. He is currently the leader of the celestial insects. When Pio asks about the case Kijima mentioned, Kamison replies that it involves a vessel capable of holding everything, a being that creates, and his brother. The others are surprised by this, and Pio asks if he can lead them to the location. Kamison says he has called someone who knows the exact place and manages it. Just then, a senior man named Kim enters the headquarters, causing the workers to look up in surprise. Kim tells them he's here to see Kamison, and by stepping into the room, he stands by the door. One of the workers loudly orders everyone to stand straight because the CEO is arriving. To everyone's shock, the old lady, Gium, Kamison's grandmother, enters the room. She gently asks if anyone has fed Kamison yet. She greets everyone, and when a man named Kang comments that he heard she came to see Kamison, she confirms it and adds that he's her grandson. This thing surprises everyone, including Pyo and Nan. At this moment, Kamison uses his ability to break the chains that were binding his hands. Seeing this, Nan activates her current magic, but Kamison tells her not to do, explaining that his grandmother would be upset if she saw it. Gum approaches with a smile, greets Kamison and asks if he has eaten anything. She then addresses everyone, saying that they've been through a lot, and she'll explain everything slowly, but they need to eat first. They sit at the dining table and begin their meal. Once they finish, Gum starts her story. She tells them that this all began 18 years ago, before Bug Reaper was funded, when she ran a restaurant called Golden Foods. One day, Kim came to her to discuss the sales report, but she was talking to her son, Xiongtai, who worked in the police force and had recently been promoted. As they were talking, Xiongtai received a call from another officer informing him about a murder and urging him to come quickly. He ends the call, and they both head out to investigate. Meanwhile, Gyum tells Kim that she has always been worried about her son. She even suggested he take over the business, but he insisted on becoming a police officer, just like his father. As Kim explains the business details and profits, Xiongtae arrives at the crime scene. He sees an insector who has killed his partner. Xiongtae angrily fires at him, but the shots have no effect. In response, the insector kills Xiongtae. When the news reaches Guillaume, she gets sad. Soon after, a man informs her that the autopsy results show that the injuries were not inflicted by a human. The only explanation is that Xiongtae was attacked by a beast. Days later, Guillaume sits in her office and orders her assistant, Kim, to find the person responsible for killing her son, no matter what. At this moment, a man named Cheol enters her office and tells her that her son was killed by a bug, which shocks her even more. He shows her some pictures and explains that these bugs are called insectors. He explains that he is working on the Insector Countermeasures project and came to ask for Guillaume's support. She replies that she wants to find and kill the one who murdered her son, but she won't invest in anything without solid evidence. Cheol then calls someone in, and when the person enters, both Guillaume and Kim are shocked to see it's a red ant insector. Cheol reassures them, and when the insector transforms into its human form, they realize it's a girl. Cheol then tells them that the person before them is the hope of humanity and his daughter, the prototype of the Ant Castle project, number 0, and her human name is Gamey. He asks if she agrees now and adds that he will show her more details at his research institute. Gum follows him to an old building where Cheol is working on his projects. When they arrive, Cheol welcomes her inside. She notices pictures of various insects on the walls, and Kim informs her that Cheol is a renowned entomologist, known worldwide for his expertise in ants, having discovered dozens of new species. Guillaume then asks about Cheol's daughter, and he explains that she is waiting to demonstrate her combat abilities, as she will be fighting insectors. They reach a training area, and Guillaume sees Gammy standing in the ring. Cheol summons another man from a cage, and Guillaume angrily demands to know why they are making a human fight. Cheol tells her to just watch, and as both Gammy and the man transform into their insector forms, Guillaume gets stunned by the transformation, and Cheol comments that this is the true nature of the insectors, and that it was such a monster that killed her son, Xiongtae. The fight begins, and with swift moves, Gammy strikes the other insector. Gum surprisingly asks if the countermeasure is to create the same kind of monster. Cheol responds that Gammy is different, and explains that the goal of this project is to create a being that does not harm humans, but instead considers only insectors as enemies, hunting and consuming them. He adds that the millions of ants living inside Gammy's body, using her as a host, are the ones that devour the insectors. He reveals that this is the result of the anti-insector ant model Red, a project he developed independently. As Gammy defeats the insector and her red ants begin to consume him, she suddenly starts feeling pain in her stomach. Gum feels concerned about her, and Cheol informs her that Gammy is pregnant. This thing makes Guillaume angrier, and she strictly demands to know how he can use his pregnant daughter as a test subject. Then Gammy steps out of the ring and tells Guillaume that her husband was also killed by an insector. She hadn't known she was pregnant at the time, and driven by revenge, she made a hasty decision. However, she doesn't regret it, because the future of her child is more important than revenge. She then asks her for help, and Guillaume quickly agrees, but warns Cheol not to harm the child. She takes Gammy home and cares for her gently, while Cheol continues working on his new project. Days pass, and Gammy gives birth to a child, which causes Guillaume to get emotional. They name him Kamison, and at the same time, Cheol holds another child, Kamison's twin brother, and names him Mishan. The children grow up, playing with Guillaume, who cares for them as her own grandsons. One day, when they are 5 years old, Michan asks her when their mom will return, and Guillaume reassures them that their mom will come back safely. The next day, a man approaches Guillaume and informs her that they've found the insector who killed her son. Gamey calmly asks for his location, and the man replies that he hasn't left Jeju Island yet, and agents are still tracking him. Gamey says she will go to confront him immediately, but Guillaume expresses concern and asks what will happen to the children. Gamey tells her it's time to fulfill her promise. She adds that, thanks to Guillaume, the technology has advanced, and she's in perfect condition now, so she'll catch the insector and return safely. At this moment, she tells her something serious that a few days ago, while the kids are watching TV, Michan insists on getting a tiger sword he saw on the screen. When Guillaume tells him they'll buy it another day, she's shocked to see Kamasan create the sword with his ability, using the black ants. Guillaume realizes that his insector abilities have transferred to him. She then asks about Michan, but Gamey reassures her that Michan has no abilities and is just a normal human. Gamey apologizes for surprising her, but Guillaume assures her that as their grandmother, nothing about this news shocks her. However, she requests that Gamey return safely because she's worried about losing her. As Gamey heads out to confront the insector, Guillaume, tired from playing with the kids, falls asleep. The two children, meanwhile, secretly slip away to where their grandfather is experimenting on another man. When they arrive, they see the man attempting to transform into a blue ant-man, but failing due to his lack of imagination. Then Jong, Cheol's assistant, tells the man named Choi that if he can't succeed in the transformation, he won't be number one. Choi refuses it and blames them for the failure, but Jong responds that they've done everything they can. The last step is up to him, and the transformation depends entirely on his imagination. As Choi leaves, the two kids approach him, teasing him for his failure once again. Michan tells him that he can't do it, but his brother Kamasan can handle the ants. Choi is surprised, and the three of them step outside to test Kamasan. Kamasan easily creates a sword in front of them, leaving Choi even more astonished. He grabs Kamasan and angrily asks how he can do this, wondering if it's something he inherited from his mother. Just then, they hear commotion as the other group members rush in because Gamey has returned from the fight and she is badly injured. The kids quickly run to check on their mother and find some serious wounds on her body. At this moment, Gamey suddenly collapses and shocks everyone around her. She informs them that they've finally captured the insector. Meanwhile, in a special room, Cheol and Jong tie the insector, a stag beetle named Dwell, with chains. They remark that it's the strongest and most dangerous insector. Gamey is placed inside a glass box, unconscious from her injuries, while Guillaume and the kids stand nearby. The doctor explains that Gamey's life isn't in immediate danger, but her condition is serious, and it will be difficult for her to continue working as number 0 in the future. Hearing this, Guillaume and the others grow more worried. Cheol enters the room, and when Guillaume apologizes for everything that happened, Cheol smiles and thanks her. He explains that thanks to her support, they've captured the dangerous insector, and Gamey did her best in the fight. Cheol then calls for Kamasan to follow him, but Guillaume stops him, asking where he's taking the child in this situation. Cheol explains that Kamasan is a special being, chosen by the ants from birth. He intends to assess Kamasan's condition and work on improving the areas where Gamey fell short. Hearing this, Guillaume is stunned and tries to stop Cheol, but Cheol forcefully drags Kamasan away for the experiment. As Guillaume cries behind them, Michan comments that he once heard his grandfather tell Kamasan that he's number 1. He adds that he wants to be number 1 too. Guillaume tells him not to say such things, as it's painful, but Michan runs off, saying that everyone is only worried about Kamasan, and no one is properly looking after him. Michan then finds Choi, who is sitting outside, and tells him everything. He also asks Choi if he wants to be number 1, but Choi replies that he just wants the honor and to become more popular. As Choi tries to transform again, he fails and angrily starts punching a tree. At this moment, a swarm of wasps attacks them. Choi uses his blue ants to stop them, but when the wasps move to bite Mai-chan, they both watch in surprise as the wasps suddenly enter Mai-chan's body and then emerge from it. Something strange begins happening to Mai-chan's body, and he tells Choi that he's feeling weird. Choi asks if he should take him to the infirmary, but Michan refuses, saying he wants to go to his grandfather instead. Meanwhile, Cheol and Jong watch as Kamasan creates a sword using his black ants. As he does this, Jong notices that Kamasan's highest cohesion rate is 98.1%, which surprises him because Gamey's highest cohesion rate is 97.8. They feel pleased about it, but Kamasan mentions that he's hungry after playing with the ants. They then summon the hand of an insector and ask Kamasan if he can command the ants to eat it. Kamasan gives the order, and suddenly the ants begin to move and start devouring the hand. Watching this, Cheol thinks that these black ants are unique individuals naturally formed inside Kamasan's body, even better than the red and blue ants he has created. Their ability to follow orders is impressive. However, Cheol realizes that there aren't many of them yet, so they haven't harmed Kamasan's body. But if their numbers increase enough to form a suit, They could end up consuming Kamasan himself. Meanwhile, Michan goes to the basement looking for Cheol, wanting to tell him that he's now powerful and wants to be number 2. When he enters, he's surprised to find the place empty. His shock grows when he sees that the insector, Dwell, has broken free from his chains and is standing right in front of him. Cheol and the others are quickly informed about this, and as Dwell moves to kill Michan, Choi arrives in his insector form and lands a punch to Dwell's face. A fight breaks out, but Dwell beats Choi badly. As he moves toward Michan, Choi shifts into another insector form, B, and delivers a powerful punch to Dwell's stomach, which sends him back. Despite this, Dwell isn't defeated and charges at Michan again. But to his surprise, when Michan points his hand at him, a strange power erupts from his body, which instantly defeats Dwell. Just as Cheol and Jong arrive, they see that both Choi and Michan are safe. A few days later, Jong takes Choi to Brooklyn, New York, where insectors are attacking civilians. Choi begins to fight and defeat them, but during the chaos, a building is blasted. After the incident, Choi returns to Cheol, who ties him up in the special room. Jong informs Cheol that 36 civilians are dead, and the American media is reporting that a monster was behind the attack. Cheol tells Choi that he sent him to New York to eliminate the insectors, but instead, he ended up killing people. Calling him number 2, he asks if he sees himself as a hero or an insector. He feels troubled by the situation, but Choi remains calm. He explains that 2 months ago, after the Dwell incident, he was reborn, and his power has become so overwhelming that he can no longer control it. That's why this happened. Cheol responds that they don't need a hero who can't control his power. But Choi asks if the world doesn't need him now, and also questions what he will do without him, and whether he has confidence in that 5-year-old number 1. Meanwhile, Gammy is cooking a delicious meal at home and calls her kids to come and eat. Kamasan is excited to see the food, but asks sadly about his grandmother, who hasn't been around lately. Gammy recalls the moment when Guillaume left and reassures Kamasan that they will visit her next time. She also asks him to call Michan for dinner. When Kamasan goes to find his brother, he sees Michan talking with Cheol and is telling him that he can now control insects freely, and with this power, he can make everyone stronger. He says he's also a hero. Cheol remembers something Jong had told him earlier, that Michan is like an insect net, able to absorb not only bugs, but also insectors into his body and transfer that power to humans. Hearing this, Cheol hugs Michan and sadly tells him that he is a failure, which causes Michan to get surprised. Later, while Kamasan is sleeping, Michan sneaks up to him and starts absorbing the black ants from his body because of jealousy. Kamasan screams in pain, and when Gammy hears him, she rushes in and slaps Michan for his actions. She tells him that if the ants keep entering their bodies, it could be dangerous, and she just wants him to stay normal. Michan disagrees, saying that everyone knows what his power is, but no one is happy about it. Just then, Cheol arrives and, seeing Michan's rude behavior, decides to take him with him. He announces that Michan has the ability to absorb and release the power of insects, and he has been deemed a dangerous threat. He adds that until they can determine the proper treatment, Michan will be placed in quarantine. Hearing this, Michan feels bad and mutters that he's not a failure, as he's the only one who has truly succeeded. A few days later, Gammy visits her father and asks what will happen to Michan, as it's been 2 weeks. Kale responds that he has calculated it many times, but Michan will one day cause the destruction of humanity. As they talk, Choi overhears them, and suddenly they sense something strange coming from Michan's cage. Gammy quickly heads in that direction. Meanwhile, Michan summons several insectors, causing chaos in the area. He uses his powers to kill 2 people. When Gammy arrives, she's shocked by the scene, but reassures Michan that she will save him. Before she can act, the insectors attack her. When Michan tells her to accept him, she transforms into her insector form and fights off the other insectors. As she defeats them, she tells Michan that she is his mother, and that she will always accept him. She gently hugs him, and by apologizing for hurting him, she asks him to stop all of this. As she speaks, the bee insector suddenly thrusts its hand into Gammy's stomach from behind, which shocks both her and Michan. He angrily orders the insector to back off. Just then, Choi arrives, and together, they defeat the bee insector on the spot. Afterward, Michan starts crying as he sees his mother lying on the ground. Kaol arrives, and by aiming a gun at Michan, he orders him to step away from Gammy. As he prepares to shoot, Choi pulls him back and asks what he's doing. Cheol demands him to stay out of it, and threatens to dispose of him as well. But Choi laughs and tells him to do what he wants. Then Cheol pulls out a remote and tells him that if that's the case, he'll dispose of him first. As he prepares to press the button, Choi suddenly leaps at him, grabs him by the neck and asks if he planted a bomb in his body. Cheol confirms it, and Michan recalls a previous conversation with Choi, where Choi mentioned that Michan's presence had awakened him into a powerful insector. Just as Cheol presses the button, something strange happens to Choi's body. Cheol explains that he had planted a new queen blue ant inside him, and had just activated the attack order with the detonator. As Choi's insector form begins to melt, Michan steps in and uses his powerful ability. When the dust settles, Cheol feels relief and thinks that the danger is over. But to his shock, Choi is not defeated. Instead, he grows stronger, turning into a monstrous form. Meanwhile, Michan is not in his senses. Cheol surprisingly asks if Choi has turned into a monster, and Michan clarifies that Choi has simply awakened for real. As Choi moves closer and prepares to punch Cheol, Gammy steps in and blocks his punch with some effort. Meanwhile, as Kamasan is exhausted from searching for his mother, Choi lands a punch on Gammy and sends her back. Cheol quickly tells her that he has a plan and urges her to go upstairs, take Kamasan with her, and run. Gammy insists that she can't leave without Michan, but Cheol replies that Michan is gone and no longer conscious of what's happening. As they talk, Kamasan suddenly arrives and gets shocked to see his mother in such a condition. Michan angrily blames Kamasan, preparing to attack him. Just then, Cheol opens fire on Choi and shouts that he can't let humanity's hope be lost like this. But from behind, Michan declares that if that's the case, he will become humanity's despair. In an instant, Choi cuts Cheol in half, which causes Gammy to be stunned. With his last breath, Cheol tells her to protect Kamasan, as he's about to destroy the entire area. He presses a button and triggers a massive explosion that destroys the building. In the chaos, Gammy quickly shields Kamasan with a protective barrier made from her red ants, but she herself doesn't survive the blast. After the explosion, ambulances and search teams arrive at the scene, finding Kamasan and Michan alive, but they discover that Gammy has died. Kamasan is then rushed to the hospital, where Guillaume anxiously asks Jong about his condition. Jong places some photos of Choi and Gammy in the book, and assures Guillaume that Kamasan has no injuries. He also informs her that Gammy has passed away. When Guillaume asks about Michan, he explains that Michan is currently being held in an underground facility on the outskirts of Seoul. Guillaume apologizes to him that Michan's situation will leave him unemployed, but she has plans for the future. However, Jung rejects her offer, explaining that as Cheol's assistant, he shares responsibility for the research and will now take care of Michan in the underground facility. Then Guillaume takes Kamasan to the graves of his mother and grandfather, telling him that from now on, she will care for him like a grandmother. She also decides to sell her company, Golden Foods, and informs her assistant, Kim, that she has now created a new company, Bug Reaper, and he is the president since she is retiring. Now in the present, Guillaume sits with Pio and the others, explaining how the Bug Reaper came to be. After hearing the story, Pio understands why Kijima is searching through the Bug Reaper for the case. He then asks her about Kijima's location, but Guillaume responds that she came to tell them that, but first asks what they plan to do with the boy. She suggests that keeping him locked away would be the best option for everyone. However, Pio comments that if they do nothing, Bug Reaper will eventually be destroyed by Kijima's relentless attacks. As everyone struggles to figure out what to do, Kamasan suddenly speaks up, declaring that he will handle it. His statement shocks everyone, and Nan asks if he plans to kill his own brother. Kamasan responds that he's not going to kill Michan, but instead he will erase his ability. He explains that he's done something similar before, mentioning that it involved an artificial being similar to an insector. He believes that if the ants can consume the insect gene inside Michan, he can save him. Meanwhile, Sung and Yejin are still waiting in the car for Kamasan to return. As they chat, they notice Gyun, the same man from before, comes there. They get surprised as Gyun throws bubbles toward the Bug Reaper headquarters security. When the security team touches the bubbles, they explode. Realizing what's happening, Yejin and Sung rush to the scene to fight him. At this moment, Kamasan senses the presence of an insector approaching. A voice announces that an insector is destroying the outer wall of the headquarters, and 2 more insectors are standing nearby. As everyone prepares to fight, Kamasan reassures Pio that the other 2 insectors are his friends. He tells Pio to bring the grandmother to Michan, and he himself will join them afterward. Meanwhile, Gun confronts Yejin and Sung, asking about their third companion. He also brings up the proposal he made to them earlier. The 2 reject it once again and firmly demand to know why he's here. Gyun responds that he's come to retrieve Kojima's lost arm and confirm the existence of the case. Both Yejin and Sung are confused, and Gyun adds that, aside from him, the entire Hexagon organization is on standby, ready to raid every Bug Reaper base in search of the case. At this moment, some of the group members rush in to fight Gyun, but he calmly remarks that he needs to finish his task quickly, as he hates being late for work. With that, he throws a bubble attack at Yejin and Sung, who immediately realize that the bubbles contain bombs and start dodging them. Explosions go off around the area, and both Yejin and Sung leap at Gyun. When Sung tries to punch him, he is shocked to see a bubble shield appear in front of his face. Gyun then transforms into his insector form and orders them to attack him all at once. Sung attempts to punch him, but Gyun swiftly moves aside and lands a powerful kick to his face and sends him back. Sung keeps attacking, but Goon easily dodges every move. When Sung tries to land a barrier punch, a bubble shield appears in front of him again, and Goon responds by delivering another kick to his stomach. As Sung kneels down, Goon approaches and notices that they both have names like Silk and Red, so he gives himself a name based on his specialty, Bubble. He then mentions that he has another skill and tells Yejin that he's about to show it to her. With that, he leaps at her and by grabbing her, he throws her forcefully to the ground, causing her to faint instantly. Watching this, Sung grows angry at himself. As he reflects on his past, he realizes that every time he fights, he ends up losing. He thinks about the medals he once earned, and understands that his current situation is a result of the shelter he now belongs to. Thinking that, he suddenly breaks his own shelter and throws it aside. Meanwhile, Goon prepares to deliver a leap attack to the unconscious Yejin. Just as he's about to strike, a swarm of ladybugs appears, pushing Yejin out of harm's way. Feeling confused, Goon looks back and sees Sung standing there, now in his new insector form. His body is looking stronger than before. Sung carefully places Yejin to the side and seriously declares that he's going to end this with a knockout. He recalls a conversation from the past when he asked Hannah if eating larvae really made them stronger. She confirmed it and even offered him one, but he refused because he wanted to become stronger through his own strength. She explained that the larvae were like drugs, temporarily granting power without the need for desire. However, once their desire for power reached its peak, they would shed their restraints, triggering what she called the Second Awakening. Thinking about this, Sung feels his body become lighter, and with newfound strength, he charges into battle with Goon. Meanwhile, Yejin wakes up and is shocked to see Sung fighting the monster. As Goon tries to kick him, an automatic shield blocks the attack. Noticing the opportunity, Sung lands a powerful punch to Goon's face and sends him back. Goon recovers quickly, but when he leaps at Sung again, Sung effortlessly starts beating him. Then Gun launches a series of kick attacks at Sung, but the automatic shields block each one. Sung again leaps forward and delivers a final powerful punch. The force of the punch drives his entire hand into Goon's stomach, causing him to scream in pain. A blast erupts and Goon gets defeated. Both Sung and Yejin feel relieved, knowing they've taken down the celestial insector from Hexagon. Just then, Kamison arrives and Yejin is happy to see him, but when she asks why he's so late, Kamison seriously orders her to get up immediately. She's confused, but before she can react, Hannah appears, and from behind Sung, she injects him with a powerful substance and congratulates him on his second awakening. He collapses, and Hannah apologizes, explaining that this was the only way to get her research recognized by him. At this moment, a massive swarm of insectors appears in the sky. Kamison informs Yejin that these are the larvae from Six Shot, now transformed into insectors. The bug reapers arrive shortly after, launching a rocket attack at the larvae. However, their numbers are few, and Tae asks about reinforcements. Sam replies that support has been requested from all regions, but everyone is facing the same situation. Tae orders the group to attack, and they begin firing. Watching the chaos, Yejin tells Kamison that they need to leave since the bug reapers have arrived. However, Kamison refuses, saying his grandmother and Cheol are still inside the headquarters, and Yejin understands that they have to fight. As the larvae leap toward them, Yejin quickly creates a thread wall with her magic to block their attack, but it doesn't seem to slow them down much. Kamison then summons a massive hand made of black ants and sends some shells to devour the larvae directly. While they're focused on the battle, inside the headquarters, Choa continues to follow the lady nurse. Feeling confused, Choa asks where they're going since the shelter is supposed to be in the other direction. The nurse leads her to Research Lab 3, where Kojima's arm is stored. When the doctors question why she's here without permission, she uses her ability to kill them all, leaving Choa in shock. The lady nurse informs Hannah through her earpiece that she has secured Kojima's arm and that the car will be leaving through the back gate soon, so Hannah should follow it. Meanwhile, the car carrying Guillaume and the otters drives out, and as Hannah watches it, she feels satisfied, commenting that they will soon discover the location. Inside the headquarters, the lady nurse transforms into her butterfly insector form, and Choa is shocked to see her. To her surprise, the nurse is none other than her school friend, Se-jin. She gently greets Choa, mentioning that she didn't expect to meet her here. Choa is surprised by her wings, and Se-jin explains that she is a rare specimen, one of the few larvae to develop individually among the many others, which is why she has become so strong. She reassures her that from now on, she doesn't need to fear insectors as Se-jin will protect her, and also that she has to come with her. Just as she says this, Jin arrives and throws a stick at her. Se-jin quickly dodges it, but the stick lands in the container holding Kojima's arm. Se-jin throws an attack, but Jin dodges it and launches a current-based attack, which surprises her. She is amazed that a human can fight with only one arm and leg. Just as Jin is about to slash her, Kamison steps in between and stops him. She also tells Se-jin to leave quickly, and Se-jin grabs Kojima's arm and escapes from there. Outside the headquarters, the group is struggling to deal with the insectors. Despite attacking them directly on their heads, the insectors aren't dying. Kamison manages to kill one of the insectors and quickly realizes the problem. He instructs the others to remove the larvae from the necks of the insectors and bring them to him. They agree to his plan. Meanwhile, Yejin, still holding the insectors with her thread magic, comments that there are still too many left. Feeling frustrated, she transforms into her powerful insector form once again and her hair grows stronger. Meanwhile, Gyum and the others arrive at the location where Michan is being held. As they look around, Pyo and Nan comment that the place appears to be just an apartment. Gyum confirms their observation and greets some of her workers, telling them to rest for the day's work. When Pyo remarks that there's nothing here, Gyum tells them to wait a moment. She and Kim place their badges on the ground, and suddenly the ground slides open and reveals a hidden passage. Underground, Michan, tied to a chair, informs Jong that someone is approaching. Meanwhile, Seijin arrives at the secret location where Kojima is staying, and respectfully hands him his arm. Kojima attaches his arm back and assures Saejin that he will spare her life, ordering her to lead him to the location of the case. Back at the hidden place, Guillaume and the others descend, where Pyo and Nan are surprised to find a hidden area beneath the apartment. Guillaume comments that this is the first time she's seeing it herself and apologizes for the inconvenience. As she explains the situation, they continue downward. Kim tells them to take the elevator further down, assuring them he will come once Kamison arrives. They agree, and when they reach the bottom, Jong greets them and thanks Guillaume for her help during this time. He then leads them to the room where Michan is being held. Meanwhile, Yejin eliminates all the insectors and orders Kamison to consume the larvae falling from them. The ant shelters quickly devour them, and when Kamison commands them to regroup on his body, he transforms into a powerful Ant-Man, which surprises Yejin. He instructs her to follow him and moves swiftly. Yejin uses her thread magic to grab Sung and follows him. The Bug Reapers watch in surprise as they see the insectors defeated and the group escaping. Suddenly, Sam informs Tae that the insectors are coming back to life in human form. Meanwhile, Gyum feels emotional as Michan asks why she's so late. She gently apologizes, and Michan then asks if she brought others with her to kill him. Gyum quickly denies it, explaining that the people with her are employees of the company he founded, and they are not here to harm him. She also informs him that Kamison is on his way and might be able to help him. Michan laughs and asks how a person with nothing but ants in his body could fix him. He adds that even though Uncle Choi tried many times to rid him of this cursed ability, he never succeeded. He firmly states that he has lived for 11 years chained up in a room, and even if the world changes, he refuses to be freed. As they talk, the wall suddenly breaks and Kijima, Choi, enters who throws Kim in front of them. They are shocked to see this, and when Pyo leaps to attack, Kijima slashes with his hand, causing a huge blast. Pyo spits out blood, and they are stunned to see Guillaume also faint from the serious injury. At this moment, Kamison is on his way, and when he senses something bad has happened to his grandmother, he leaps forward quickly. Meanwhile, as Pyo continues to fight, Kijima suddenly attempts to punch him. Pyo dodges it, and when the punch is aimed at Michan, Kijima stops it just in time. Then Jong arrives with a robot that grabs Kijima in its arms. Pyo and Nan quickly launch a current attack at Kijima. Jong orders Pyo and Nan to leave immediately, and they escape, carrying Gyum and Kim. From behind, Jong comments that it's time to use Cheol's method. As he reaches for the button to destroy Kijima, Hana suddenly appears and stops his hand. At this moment, Michan is freed from his chains by Hana. Using his power, he transforms Jong into an insector, which surprises Hana as well. Meanwhile, as Pyo and Nan exit, Nan tells him to take Gyum and Kim to the hospital while she stays behind to fight Kijima. Suddenly, Michan emerges from the underground and asks about his grandmother's condition. As he speaks, he launches an attack at them, but they quickly dodge, and the attack collides with a bird. The bird transforms into an insector and starts attacking Pyo and the others. When Gyum falls from Nan's arms and the bird insector prepares to attack her, Kamison arrives and kills it on the spot. Seeing Kamison's red form, Michan realizes he is the same as the mother. Kamison approaches Gyum, ordering Nan and Pyo to take her and leave immediately while he stays behind to kill Michan. At this moment, Kijima leaps at him to attack, but Kamison dodges and they both engage in a serious battle with their powers. Kamison initially gains the upper hand, but his attacks don't seem to affect Kijima. Then Kijima counters with a powerful slash, and Kamison manages to dodge it, but the slash cuts through the entire building. Kamison grabs Kijima by his horns, but Kijima punches him and sends him crashing into another building. Kijima continues with more attacks and throws him to the ground. Doing this, he comments that he once wanted to become a hero and take his mother Gami's place, but he failed. He vows not to let Kamison become a hero either. He then slashes and cuts Kamison's head, but to his surprise, Kamison's human head emerges from the severed neck. As Kijima prepares to strike again, Kamison quickly forms a sword from black ants and thrusts it into Kojima's stomach, ordering the ants to devour him. The ants obey, and Kamison feels relief. However, he is shocked to see that the ants have only eaten Kojima's half armor. At this moment, Kamison is unable to move, and as Kojima prepares to deliver the final blow, Michan suddenly appears between them and stops Kojima's hand. Gripping Kojima's arm, he uses his powers, commenting that it's time to end this. He absorbs all the negative power from Kojima and defeats him. Then he turns to Kamison, holding the sword that he had made for him when they were children. He suddenly drives the sword into Kamison's stomach. Placing his hand on his neck, he declares that now he will take all of his power as well. Kamison orders the ants to attack Michan, and as they obey, something strange begins to happen between them. Meanwhile, Yejin holds Sung and searches for Kamison. She suddenly notices a strange light emanating from Kamison's apartment. As she focuses on it, a massive explosion erupts which destroys all the buildings in the area. After the incident, Kamison wakes up in the hospital, finding Pyo and Yejin also there. He asks about his grandmother, but Pyo nervously tells him that after the explosion, she and Nan went missing. Kamison is shocked by the news, and Pyo reassures him that both the Bug Reapers and the police are actively searching for them. On the TV, the news reports that due to the Bug Reapers' efforts, the company has now received official authorization from the Korean government. Pyo then tells Kamison that, even though he no longer has the power of the Black Ants, they still need his help. He asks if Kamison will join the Bug Reapers, as they are still capable of killing the insectors. Kamison feels a bit sad, but when he calls for his ability, he senses a single red ant still in his neck.